What is good, everybody? Dynasty Life back in the building. Your boy Stevie B here. Special guest tonight, Big Baller. What's up, Baller? Oh, what's up, Baller? How are you, man? I can't hear you, Baller. Shit. Just sound out real quick. Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
Sweet.
I got you now. Big Baller, welcome, man. Thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Doing this Dynasty mock. Glad to have somebody on with us. But
Heck yeah.
yeah, excited to have you on, man.
Happy to be here.
Good, good. And you are a Ravens fan, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Indeed, I am.
You are. Now, how do you feel about this whole Lamar situation? What are you feeling?
I'm just. It's been several years since Lamar drafted, and the Ravens have done next to nothing to help him in supporting cast. His best receiver has been a tight end, Mark Andrews. Marquise Brown was solid for a while, but they traded him away. And this offseason, they started to kick it off by getting a major weapon in Nelson Aguilar. I mean, they've been next to zero in getting any of the other free agency wide receivers. Granted, this draft is still coming, but I'm seeing the pattern continue of them neglecting Lamar as much as they humanly can.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, I think at the same time, obviously, everybody keeps bringing up the injuries in the past 2 years. How he's played 12 games each.
Right.
So obviously he's been a little bit injury prone. Typically those QBs, the way that he runs and his style of play don't typically last that long. So I don't know if,
Right.
teams are just looking at that and saying, why take the chance on that? We've got to spend, draft capital. And then we got to pay him at the same time. He wants this insane amount of money because of the whole
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson thing. And I don't know. Do you think it was reasonable, the one offer they made him? I know Shefty was going over it. It was like a 200 mil guaranteed, but it was like dependent on, him being healthy and playing X amount of games or something like that. What did you think
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously injuries you can't predict those, all that. But regardless of all that, your best ability is availability. Um, like I said, injuries you can't predict that, all that. You can't fault him for that, but it's a business. If you can't rely on your number one player, your number one contributor to be out there on the field consistently, then you might have to start looking into other options and paying someone if you can't be confident they'll be out there every single game as much as possible. You can't be confident in that.
Yeah, that's the rough part because you can look at it from the way of, okay, look what he's done for the team and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, unfortunately, like you said, it is a business. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not really, what you've done. It's like, what are you going to do now and going forward? And you can't stay
Right.
healthy, so it's like,
Right. So yeah.
Washington don't want him, right? I mean, who's the possible destinations? I think Atlanta and Washington both said they don't want him, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who is interested in that at this point. I've heard about a lot of teams being losing interest, all that, but I haven't heard a lot about teams specifically going out and trying to get him. Because I think the way contracts are set up, the Ravens because I'm sure the Ravens. So it's kind of all up in the air right now. I'm not really sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, do you think he's coming back? Like, do you think it can be just like one of those? I think I saw somebody today right on Facebook. They were like, "Is this like that Kobe situation where he wants to trade, but then we're just going to wind up keeping him?" And
I mean, he, I mean, who really knows? Honestly, I think and they're just butting heads. The Ravens and Lamar, they're just butting heads because they can't agree on anything. So at this point, I could see a scenario where he stays though, where they work it out and they stay. But I think if they continue to not provide him with, viable receivers, I think he's eventually going to force his way out because he doesn't want to be part of an organization that doesn't want to help him out.
Yeah, well, I think that, and at the same time, obviously he runs a lot, so there's not, it's hard sometimes for some of these guys to want to, go to a place where they're not going to be,
Right,
featured,
right,
and it's going to be more of the run game and everything.
right.
They wound up, not bringing anybody in and going with, Bateman as the number one. Do they feel that confident that he's that good to be the number one? But
Yeah.
they've got to at least help him out. I mean, it literally has no, Algalore. I mean, seriously,
Yeah, like come on. Come on. At least put some effort into it. I mean, I
there's
guarantee like sorry. I guarantee through the draft they're gonna add people, but we've said that for years in the past and it hasn't happened, so who really knows?
yeah,
We'll see how it goes, I guess.
yeah. Well, it is mock Wednesday for us. Every Wednesday we're on here doing mocks. Same time pretty much every Wednesday, just trying to get a
Mhm.
feel for, what's going on out there, how people are feeling, what the community's thinking. Keeping our values kind of in line as this off season is going, and values, obviously change like
Right.
crazy. Like as soon as we see, Calvin Ridley catch a pass from Trevor Lawrence on film in practice, people are going to start
Right.
going
He
crazy.
looked like he hasn't missed a step. Yeah.
So, yep, absolutely. All right, we're about to start this draft in like 4 minutes here. I randomized it. Just so happens we're back to back bowler. That sucks.
Oh, sweet. Don't snipe me, okay?
But yeah, you're at the 1-4. I mean, Superflex. Yeah, what do you're before me, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, what are you feeling? What are you usually doing here in a Superflex? And the way I set it up typically is start 10. I mean, that's just the most popular out there. So 3 wide
hmm
receivers, 2 flexes with Superflex. But yeah, who are you looking at there at the 1-4 typically?
So, um, well, in Superflex in general, I like to secure that top tier quarterback in either the first or second round. Because by the third, all the top tier ones are long gone.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I usually try to secure a top tier guy in my first round. So this draft is probably gonna go like Mahomes, Allen, maybe like Burrow or Hurts next. And at
Uh-huh.
that point, it's whether I want to roll with someone like Jackson or Fields or at this point, because of the three wide receivers, I might end up going with Justin Jefferson, depending on how the first three picks end up. So
Mhm.
it's pretty much either gonna be Jefferson or like Burrow or Hurts, something like that. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I mean, typically we see JJ or Chase at like that mid, 1-6, 1-7. You can go earlier if your top three QBs are gone and you're not comfortable with who's next. I mean, typically it's, like you said, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Hurts, then kind of from there, or Hurts, Burrow, however you're feeling, and then kind of from there,
Yeah.
it's kind of up and down. Do you just go straight after the wide receiver? Do you wait till the next round? Do you just lock up the QB? So you've got obviously choices, no wrong or right way to do it. But
hmm Someone was asking if this was tight end premium. Is it or
yeah, I put no. I'm gonna put no, not tight end premium.
okay? Just to clear
I mean,
that up.
obviously it does make a difference. Sometimes not a crazy difference at all. It all depends how you wanna play it. I always say like tight end premium is always like a trick. After like the top guys, like it doesn't really matter much.
Right.
They're all kind of
Yeah. I do have
kind
a
of the
question
same at
though.
that point.
Sorry. I do have a
Go ahead,
question
man.
regarding tight ends, if you don't mind, if we got a sec.
Yeah, of course.
How early are you willing to draft Travis Kelsey in a non-tight end premium
Man, that's uh,
dynasty league?
that's tough. I mean, tight end premium or not, Kelsey's just a tough one because of the age. So, if you're taking Kelsey, you're pretty much automatically forcing yourself into win now. I've seen him go second round, third round, fourth round if it's not a tight end premium. It all depends on how you want to, set up your team. I'm one that, I'm going Kyle Pitts before any of the other ones. I've seen Kyle Pitts
Yeah.
go anywhere from the, late second to, late third, tight end premium or not. So, yeah, I don't think I can switch somebody directly to a pick. I don't think, right? Can I? I don't even know.
I think you can. I just don't remember exactly how to do it.
It's too late for all that. Love Tractor wanted, I think, 107 to start, but all right, so about to start, y'all. This looks like somebody had a question in there. Had someone offer me the 109 and the 2024 first for Brees Hall? What can I ask for on top of that, or is that fair? His 24th pick will be mid to late in 2024. So you basically get 2 firsts, a mid, and a late first. I mean, the value is decent, but I'd want more. I'm not sure what exactly your team looks like, Eternal right now. That would give us a better idea of, what to do. I really
Right.
don't want to move off of Brees Hall unless it's absolutely necessary. Yeah, what do you think about that, Paula?
Yeah, I think as it is, I think that's sort of fair. But like you said, in any dynasty trade, you're going to be looking to get as much value as possible back. Oh, I'm up.
Yeah, looks like you're on the clock there. So yeah, I mean, Mahomes, Burrow went second. Okay, Shinbone
That was
picking
surprising.
Burrow over Josh Allen, and I can't complain about it. We're seeing some people now starting to put Burrow over Josh Allen. Could it be that longevity thing? I don't
Right.
know because Allen can still
Um,
throw in the pocket, so I think he'll be okay compared
right.
to a Lamar or guys like that.
Right. I think I'm going to get what is the perfect combo of throwing and passing, or sorry, passing and rushing. I'm going to get
Hmm.
myself Jalen Hurts.
There you go. Perfect. 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 Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I'm coming up on the clock here. So now, like, this is the tough part for me, like, where it's, Herbert, Fields, and
Pick
Lawrence are all
there.
kind of right here. Or do you straight just pivot and go take the wide receiver? For me, I still have Herbert up here. Some people are putting Herbert down a little bit because of the year he had last year, but he still threw for what 4,500 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just only threw less touchdowns last year was the only issue. I think he would he throw like 26 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah. Like you went down from 38
25,
TDs to, yeah.
compared to the 38 and the 31 he threw the 2 years prior.
Yeah. His wide
4,800
receiver one
yards.
was like Josh. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, man.
His wide receiver one was Joshua Palmer at a lot of points during the season. Like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are devastated by injuries, so that
Yep.
definitely makes sense.
There goes JJ. So JJ comes off the
Yeah,
board right after me, which is typical. And I do the same thing. Like after Herbert, for me, like I'd rather go JJ
right.
and then like I'm okay with coming back with like a Trevor Lawrence. Like I have Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I don't know how you feel about how do you feel about Justin Fields? Where do you have him? I've seen people have him anywhere from like the 1-4 to the 112. Like
Honestly, with these Lamar Fields, Lawrence, they're all like I could easily be persuaded as to have one over the other. To me, they're like you'd have to nitpick to pick one or the other. For me, I think I'd pick. I think I'd rather have Fields just to do that insane rushing upside he has. Um, it is a concern long term injury wise, like you mentioned earlier in the stream.
yeah.
But for now, Fields has that crazy rushing upside, and with DJ Moore there, his upside is only gonna go up. So I think I'd
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
Fields over Lawrence.
yeah.
Although
Yeah,
Lawrence
it's
isn't anyone to scoff at either. He's pretty good.
Yeah, it's close. You can flip them. You can do it, either which way. For me, I'd rather have the bigger guy, the pocket guy, that just makes me feel a little
Hmm.
bit more comfortable, especially in Dynasty. Like in
Yeah.
redraft, I'm okay with, swinging for the fences, going for all the crazy upside and that. But in Dynasty, I'm a little bit more conservative, at least when it comes to the QB position. Like I
Hmm.
don't love, having like a Lamar Jackson on my team. Obviously in Superflex, you got to get what you can, but typically I try not to go with those guys if I can.
Right.
Okay with Bijan and Brees if I have to. Yeah, I mean, you got the 101. So yeah,
Hmm.
you're definitely taking Bijan there.
Can't
I
really
just,
complain about that
hold on
duo,
to
really.
yeah, and then just, hold on to Brees right now. I mean, again, once we start seeing him in camp and start running and stuff like that, like the value is going to start to go up. Okay, he's
Right.
back, he's good to go. So, you could hold out. Like I don't
Uh-oh.
want the 109 and some kind of random mid 23 first only if I'm giving up,
Mhm.
if I'm giving up Brees. I want something way more concrete
Right.
than that. So yeah, Trevor Lawrence goes after Fields here, and then Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Bijan and Brees go at the turn. Okay, so going heavy running
Wow.
back early.
I
Alright,
know
I
I
don't
know
think I
those auto, but is Waddle your
Yes, Deshaun Watson and Waddle, and that's Mukbang. He's typically in here, but he'll set up his cue to what he does like if he does get autoed. So okay, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Waddle, CD Lamb goes, AJ Brown. How do you view those wide receivers? How do you view the wide receivers at least in Dynasty? At least like those first five, like coming off the board.
I mean, they're all elite options. For the most part, all of them have pretty good quarterback play for the next like 5 years or so. They're
Mm,
solid talents. They do have some. A lot of them have some good competition around them, but they're producing regardless. So
yeah,
all five of those guys, I think they're pretty much like tier one, if not a couple guys added on of that dynasty wide receivers. Waddle, I know that was Otto, but Waddle was kind of surprising to me. Is Waddle your wide
yeah.
receiver three in dynasty?
Yeah, no, I mean for me he's wide receiver 5 with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like I have him back to back. You can call him 5A,
Hmm.
5B, whatever you want to, however you want to slice it. But yeah, I love Waddle because he can give it to you any way that you want it, right? We saw him do it PPR wise, his rookie season. We saw him do it with the yak and after the catch and them bombs last season. So,
Right.
he can do it either which way, which is what I love about Waddle.
Hmm.
But yeah, I have CD Lamb and AJ Brown above him. There goes Garrett Wilson. He's been going higher and higher
Yeah, yeah, I like him. I like him.
recently. And then now what do I do here? This is I'm in a tough spot. Do I go QB? There's still a few QBs that I like. Like, do we wait? Do we take the QB? This is that rough spot. But I am one that likes to
Yeah.
get the QB, so I'm gonna go with Tua.
Tua.
You can do Tua or Dak or even Bryce Young here. But I like Tua. I mean, I like the situation that he's in. Obviously, we're worried about the head injuries and him getting knocked out and that kind of stuff. But I think it's a low possibility chance that he keeps getting knocked out and doesn't ever play
Right.
again. I'll take that chance, with the offense that he's in. The team likes him, the coaches like him. They picked up the option, so they're, at least they're committing to him, it seems like. Um, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, what do you feel about Tua?
Let me make my pick real quick. Come here, I'm on
Uh,
Raw. But
Or
back to
I
your
was
question.
it was either between Amon-Ra and Tua that I was gonna go, and I said, "Fuck it,
Yeah.
let me just take the QB."
Why not? But yeah, like you mentioned, the concussions are an issue or are a concern rather. But I mean, everyone from Herbert down pretty much is injury concerns. So
Yeah,
that's just something you got to live with for these quarterbacks. But Tua with Tyreek and Waddle, although Tyreek's a bit on the other side, he's got all the upside in the world.
yeah,
I remember I made a post a couple months ago that in his healthy games where he didn't leave early, he's a quarterback 5, I believe, in points per game. I need to double check that, but I believe it was something crazy high like that.
nice. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I love the same Brown pick because after Tua, there is kind of like a little tier drop off. You can say Dak, I guess, is kind of in there, But especially
Yeah,
at this pick where you're going to get to pick again on the turn, you're kind of like, all right, I'll just take what's left at that point, but let me
right.
grab, the wide receiver. Was that kind of your thinking
Oh,
there?
I was hoping for Dak, not gonna lie.
Oh, he goes right before you.
Yeah, that's annoying. I hate that. Um,
Yeah, because then after that, it's kind of, you got the Russes, the Golfs, and not how much of a believer are you in Trey Lance? I don't know. It's rough to take that gamble, not knowing what's going to happen. I still think Trey Lance winds up the starter. He's going to have a short leash without a doubt, I think.
we get Daniel Jones with that pick.
Okay, yeah, we've seen Daniel Jones go up a little bit more now too, since he did get that contract. So
Hmm.
you can feel at least a little comfortable, going forward. And now what do we do here? We still got ETN up here, Gibbs, and it's tough. Typically, I don't go running back. We've still got T. Higgins, Olave still up here,
Hmm.
JSN, DK. So what do we do from here? Higgins and Olave are really close to me. I have Higgins ahead of Olave, so I'll just follow my rankings here. I'll take Higgins next, and then we'll
Yeah,
see what
Higgins is
comes
a
back.
stud.
Yeah, I love Higgins. Any team that he goes to, he can be the wide receiver one.
Yeah,
And hopefully he stays with Burrow because even with Chase there, and we've seen it before. You can have two top guys, in an offense. We just saw it last year, obviously, with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. So
right.
not something I'm worried about at all. But yeah, Olave comes off next. That's a good pick there. There goes Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts typically now in this range in like that middle third. We're not tight end premium exactly in this mock, but middle of
Hmm.
that third, I'll take him there. I still believe in the talent that he has. I still believe in it. But yeah, what do you feel about Kyle Pitts?
I mean, he's only he's only like 22 right now. Yeah, 22 right now.
Yeah.
Probably be 23 by the start of the season. One of the youngest, if not the youngest, starting tight end in the entire league. He showed out that year one. Just his ridiculous athleticism, and he dealt with some injuries last year. Quarterback play was bad to be blunt.
Yeah.
But I'm confident he can bounce back once he gets legitimate quarterback play, which could happen as soon as this upcoming draft.
Yeah, I mean, even with Drake London there, he still had, almost a 30% target share. I
Right.
don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I mean, he's, commanding targets. Obviously, they didn't pass the ball a lot. Obviously, then he got hurt. But this is the time, that you go after these guys, go after those Kyle Pitts where the value is
Right.
low. People are not up on him like that. I mean, like you said, the guy's 22 years old. We have so much time
Yeah.
for them to get a QB, for that to come out. So you just have to be patient. And the one thing in Dynasty that people don't have is patience. And
Right.
that's pretty much the name of the game because you've got to pick your spots of, when to go get certain guys. The values are going up and down. So it's definitely one of those games. Rayos, what up, Rayos? Love the weekly mocks. Always trying to get in. Going into my second year in Dynasty. Been a redraft manager for over a decade. This definitely helps me out. Absolutely, man.
Hmm.
We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you're not already. But yeah, absolutely, bro. Every Wednesday I do the dynasty mocks. We just kind of try and stay up with the times, the values, kind of see what everybody's thinking. It's always good to keep yourself in line with the values of certain players, where certain guys are getting drafted. That's always important to kind of stay up with that. So yeah, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, Dynasty Life Fantasy, because that is where I always post first. If you're not following there, this way you can get in. I always post it there first, then I'll post it over to Facebook. A couple hours later. So if I got open spots, everybody can get in. But Instagram is always the first to get in. Yeah, second
I
year.
see that
Go ahead,
zero
man.
quarterback strat at the end of the. Sorry.
Yeah,
I see
yeah.
that zero quarterback strat at the end of the first. That's interesting.
Yeah, and again, I always tell everybody there's no right or wrong way, to do it. Personally, I've done it, with teams where I tried it that way, punt the QB early. go get everybody else, and then try and salvage what you can at QB. With
Mhm.
the Derek Carrs and the Goffs maybe. But it just doesn't last. It doesn't work out like without those two top QBs. Like I find a lot more success having two top QBs than I do drafting any other kind of way. So typically that's why I always try and lock up QBs when I can,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
what it costs to get one of these guys when it's not the startup is like you're talking about like 3 first-round picks for 4 first-round picks for some of these guys.
Yeah, that's just not attainable. That's just
You
not.
know? Yeah, and how can you give that up, So it's just rough. Now there could be, situations where you do luck out maybe the first year or 2 because you've got the Derek Carr and Russell Wilson or something like that. But how long is Derek Carr
Mhm.
gonna last? How long is Russell Wilson gonna last? Or how good is he
Right.
even gonna be? But when you have the advantage at quarterback, it does give you a better advantage, each and every
Mhm.
week. So
Yeah, for sure.
ASN comes off after Kyle Pitts, Anthony Richardson, okay, DK, Cheetah, Drake London, Devonta Smith, Trey Lance. There goes ETN. Some of the running backs coming off now. Jamal Williams. Did she probably mean to pick Javante or
I
that's
think that's
gotta be.
Jameson Williams.
Oh, it's Jameson. Oh, my bad. I'm like, that's right. That is
Oh, he's
Jameson.
good. Even
Okay.
still, that does look for him.
JMO goes. That's Yeah. Okay. Diggs is still out there. Cup is still out there. Adams is still out there. So people are
Mhm.
shying away from those older guys because of that declining value, the declining assets.
But yeah,
Devonta Smith would have been my pick if I wasn't commenting. Got Rush.
um,
Oh,
you
okay. So
are
you're in
up by the
here.
way. If
You're
you want
actually
to
in
look.
here. Okay. Um. What else? Which one are you? Are you Eternal?
Are you talking to me?
Oh no, I was talking to
Or
Rayos. I wasn't. I'm not sure
oh
which one he
oh
is, or who he is on Sleeper. So I was just trying to see where there goes Andrews. Now, again, what happens to Andrews now if
sorry, you've got like 20 seconds left on your timer.
oh
I don't
shit,
know if
yeah, I see that
you
here.
were.
I'm gonna go with Gibbs. Typically, I don't like to go with the running
Ooh,
backs, but I feel like he's the one that's kind of on top for me there. And again, you could start going some of these older guys. I'm not gonna go that route just yet, but I've got Gibbs ahead of all the rest of the guys that are here. Judy, I mean Quentin Johnston. Feel like I could
let
wait on
me.
some of those guys.
Yeah.
Do you let a guy like Diggs get past you? I know it's going to be hard to let a guy, and you can still take Diggs. I mean, he's a guy that obviously can still, very good route runner. They
Hmm.
typically last a little bit longer than normal. But TJ Hawk, okay, my
Yeah.
guy, my guy.
Yes, sir. Get that tight end secured.
Yep. Okay, so Reyes, you are eternal. Okay, yeah, appreciate you, man. Yeah, I always try and get you in here with us. Just happened to, yeah, I'm sitting here yapping and I didn't even realize I was on the clock, so I kind of flustered there a bit, but I'll take it. Yeah, what are you thinking with TJ Hawkinson there over some of the other guys that are left? What was your thought process with that?
I mean, well, simply put, I think he's got a few years on Kittle. Yeah, he's got like 4 years on Kittle in terms of age. I don't know up again. Um, who should I take here? Give me Josh Jacobs in the fifth. Give me that.
Okay. Yep.
But like
Yeah.
I was saying with TJ, he's got a full 4 years of age over Kittle. Um, he's younger than Goddard. I think just how involved he is on the offense, even if or even when the Vikings bring in more receivers, which no doubt they will in the upcoming draft, he is an integral part of the offense behind JJ.
Hmm.
Just because of how, like I said, he's a cornerstone piece in the offense, and he probably will be for years to come. And that's hard to pass up.
Yeah.
difficult pass up.
Damn, I'm like stuck. Like, what do I
Yeah, that was
do
me
here?
too. On Jacobs, I was like, I don't know.
What do I do here? I'm gonna take Javante. I'm gonna take another running back. This is, and this is why we do the mocks as well. So, to take different strategies, practice doing different things, see how your team ends up, see if you like it or not. Just from a value standpoint, I feel like I had to go Javante. Like, I don't love the wide receivers that are left. Judy, I like, but
Mm-hmm.
Javante and that perceived value. And again, like this is, when you're in a startup and when you're drafting, I mean, don't have to go into the season with these guys, right? Right now, I'm just trying to get as much value as I can. I know Gibbs's value is
Right.
going to increase. Javante's value is going to increase once he gets on the field. So I can move those guys for wide receivers or something else at any point in time, once those values go up. So I feel like that's why I had to go Javante there compared to kind of who's left on the
Right.
board.
So what's kind of weird, I'm noticing, Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris are the same age.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
both like
You don't
what?
realize.
No, Josh Jacobs feels like he's like 28, or Najee feels like he's 22. Feels like Jacobs is so much older than Najee, even though it looks like Najee came into the league a little bit older than most backs do.
Yeah. Eternal said Smith is a wide receiver one, in his opinion. Yeah, I mean he's like you could say a back end wide receiver one, high end wide receiver two. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have him as my wide receiver 11 in Dynasty. So he's up there.
Yeah.
He's up there without a doubt. Back to Jalen Hurts. Hopefully they can keep him, over time. But there goes Will Levis, Najee, Judy, Moore, Debo, Godwin. Yeah, see those guys. It's just kind of a cluster
Yeah.
where I just wanted the value. And if I could take Javante at the 5-5, where if he's healthy, he's going to be up in that, second, third round area with some of these other
Right.
guys like
Yeah.
Andy Walker and Brees Hall and ETN and them. So, yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
I
Is
missed you, Bowler. You cut out. My bad. You cut out, Bowler. What'd you say?
closely. I kind of like their strategy that they're doing. It's interesting. And I just
Yeah.
noticed Jared Goff, quarterback one. I like that.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And Goff could be a guy that does get the contract. I mean, why
yeah,
not? The guy
yeah,
finished top 12 last year. I
yeah.
mean, they've got a nice team around him. The team likes him. They believe in him. So it's possible he does wind up getting the contract, and
Hmm.
winds up staying there. And that's a
Yeah,
steal at the 6-1. That would be
yeah, yeah. I think so.
incredible value.
Yeah.
Um, and he is falling because people are not sure. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. And I think once the draft comes and they don't take a QB, we'll see Jared Goff starting to move up the draft board. So
Right.
Kenny Pickett, George Kittle, man, yeah, all these guys are just kind of a cluster of wide receivers, all kind of in that same
Hmm.
range. So this is interesting. This is the first time I've really gone like RB like this. But again, this is why we go in when we go into drafts. It's hard to just say, okay, I'm going to use this particular strategy. This is exactly what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like you've got
Right.
to see what falls to you on the board, and adjust your strategy accordingly. You
Right.
know.
Like like in redraft. And no, you're more of a dynasty guy. I'm more of a redraft guy. In redraft, I typically wait on quarterback every single time. But if
Well, yeah,
someone comes up like Josh Allen in the fifth, I'll probably bite on that.
yeah.
It all depends on how the draft plays out.
All right, so what are we doing here? We got Traylon, we got Quentin Johnston. I think I'm going to take Quentin Johnston here. Burks are
I like
kind of
that.
like in the same boat for me, and I think that Quentin Johnston is going to get the draft capital if he gets that first round draft capital. That's going to be good. Let's go with Quentin. Fuck it.
Nice. I like that.
Let's go with Quentin. So we've got a nice, starting to build a nice young team. And again, these first, 4 picks, 5 picks in these dynasty drafts or your startups are extremely important because that's going to be your core players who you're going to build your
Right.
team around, for years to come. So, and you can
Um,
choose between, older guys, younger guys. You can mix it up a bit. Yeah, what are you thinking
give
here?
me give me Traylon Burks here.
Yeah. Yep. He would
Keeping
have been
with
next
that,
on my list. Absolutely.
keeping that young guns going.
Hopefully they can get a QB. I mean, I don't think Malik Willis is going to be the guy.
No, no.
So
And they draft. What was he? It was like it's like fourth rounder, I think. He was not in like the first few rounds, so I
mhm.
highly doubt they view him as their guy.
Yeah, I mean, you could say maybe they took him and they were just gonna, groom him for a few years before he's ready. But I mean, he looked absolutely horrible last
Yeah,
year, like bad.
yeah,
Um, to where they had to pull him and sign, who they signed, Joshua Dobbs or something like that, right?
yeah. Yeah, he didn't look very good at all. Jahan Dotson, I like this. I really like Dotson. I really like him going forward because Terry
But
McLaurin's getting up there in age. And once they get a
he is.
quarterback, there'll be plenty of passes to go around.
He is. I like Dotson, but kind of like Terry McLaurin, where like he should be a wide receiver one, like he just hasn't been. They haven't been able to get a QB there. So, for me, I'm like, all right, well, like I think we know what Jahan Dotson's ceiling is. And for me, like I think his ceiling is a mid wide receiver too. Like I don't think that he can be anything more than that. So as long as you draft him that way, and on this particular team, he's the wide receiver 3, like that's fine, But if you're I don't think you should expect, wide receiver 1 numbers. Like, I do like him, but I just think he's kinda capped.
Right. So so Swift has been eyeing me since the 6th round, but I just do I really? I just
Yeah.
Swift is incredibly talented, but he gets banged up really easy, and they just signed David Montgomery. Um,
Yep.
so
Yep. So what do you do? I mean, he's got the crazy upside. He's got 1 year left on the contract, right? Does he go somewhere else next year? But again, does he become the workhorse? I think the Lions have pretty
mhm,
much figured out that he's not the workhorse. They have to kinda limit his touches, and I think they're totally okay with that, giving him
yeah,
those,
yeah.
those 12
So
to, 15 touches or give or take.
yeah. So I decided I'm gonna let someone else deal with that mess.
Yep.
No thanks.
I love the pick. I love the Hollywood Brown pick. People kinda
Yeah,
sleep on
yeah,
him a little bit,
yeah. He's
but,
solid. And once Hopkins gets traded, whenever he could get traded during the draft, who knows? But once
mhm.
Hopkins is out of there, I mean, Marquise's ceiling is astronomical. It's crazy. Even with Kyler Murray out for a good bit of this year, I don't know exactly. I think Marquise's ceiling is, you know, as good as any receivers. Top 10, easily. I think so.
I'm struggling with who to pick here, as well, but we're gonna lock up the tight end. Let's go dirt. Let's lock up a tight end. Let's lock up a top 5 guy
I like
going
it.
forward in a good offense. Because after that, I mean, you've got baby Gronk. You've got kind of a tier off here. I think we got some guys talking about Schultz in here. Goddard to me is a top 5 tight end. Absolutely. Schultz are going to get volume. Schultz might get volume this year. I mean, in that offense, especially if they're down and they need to throw. But
Yeah.
I don't love Schultz. I don't think he's that athletic of a guy. I think, Dallas is just one of those places that no matter who they kind of have in that position, they're going to be pretty productive. We saw Jake Ferguson kind of, be pretty decent
Right.
when he was out too. So I think, from Dallas's standpoint, they're like, all right, why should we pay this guy if we can just, kind of put anybody there? Plus, there's a bunch of good
Right.
tight ends coming out of the draft, just cheaper options, better options actually than Schultz, at least
Hmm.
for me, that I feel like. I mean, Pollard, there goes Swift. So Swift goes right after Pollard, Swift. Charbonnet. But yeah, I think I just felt like locking up tight end since that was there. Most of the other top tight ends are gone already. So
Yeah.
being able to get Goddard, I felt like was a good move for me. Somebody said I'm a Pollard hater, but him in the 7th is crazy. Yeah, I'm not a Pollard lover really either. And tell me what you think about Pollard, but especially in dynasty formats, it's rough because he's got the 1 year, right? Are they gonna actually give him a contract after? He's gonna be what, 27 going into the year, I think, right? He's
Mhm.
26 now, or he's 25 now, so he'll be 26 going into the next year.
Right.
Um, and do they give him the contract or do they give him the workload? I don't feel like they're gonna give him the crazy workload. I think they're content with how they kinda played him last year. He gets
Hmm.
those, 15 to 17 touches, give or take, and he's gonna be able to produce. I don't think I think they wanna bring in another guy, like
Yeah.
Zeke was. I think the worst situation for Pollard was letting go of Zeke because I think if they kept Zeke there, you feel a lot more comfortable that of the exact role that's gonna happen. It's gonna be kind of the
Right.
same thing repeat. But yeah, what do you think about Pollard and that whole thing?
I mean, there's not much to say other than stuff you've already mentioned.
That's true.
I believe Pollard is coming off of an injury to end the last season, so he could start this upcoming season hobbled up.
That's true too.
That plus adding a rookie, that could take off right away if Pollard is limited touches. Pollard is clearly talented. He'd come off of a ridiculous explosion season, but I think that was probably be his best season of his career right there.
Yeah, that's one of those, ceiling things, and I always say it, kind of like Josh Jacobs too, where I feel like last year was a ceiling, like 2,000
Mhm.
yards from scrimmage is it's going to be rough to repeat that, and when these things happen, they rise up the draft boards, and it's hard to draft them because people are just overvaluing them a little bit, especially running back position where for me at least, I take it as like a year to year thing because so many things change. And
Mhm.
it's so hard to tie up your assets, or the value, that you have on your team to tie that up in the running back position, and then that guy get injured. Like, what do you do then at that point? You've only got much value on your team. You got older players on your team, so it's rough. It all depends on your situation. But I hate, I'm one that just hates running backs. I hate tying up assets and running backs. Before last season, I traded Cheetah for Javonte Williams. Obviously, we know how that turned out in
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Oof.
So I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with the running back shit. I'd
Just running
rather
back.
just build my team and kind of worry about the
Right.
running back position after. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like you said, running back, it's pretty much disposable in Dynasty because running back is the shortest prime out of any position, pretty
Mhm.
much, because they're always in between the trenches. They're always getting beat up every single play. And no matter how durable these backs are, they're going to have a shorter lifespan in the league than any other position. That's just how the nature of the position is.
Yep. Absolutely. So do y'all, what's Bijan worth? I mean, Bijan is worth like the world pretty much right now.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was talking about this last week how, as we're getting closer now to the NFL draft and, people saw obviously what he did at the combine and all that. People want him, but at the same time, people are starting to realize what he actually cost for somebody to come off of that 101, and people are starting
Mhm.
to shy away and say, "You know what? I'm not willing to give up that much assets or that much value to go out and get Bijan." So,
Right.
can I go out and get somebody else other than Bijan? But yeah, I mean, typically right now he's worth like 3 first, pretty much. I mean, if you're giving up 2 first, that guy with Bijan most likely is like, you know what, I'll just take Bijan instead of taking it. So you need at least 2 to 3 first round picks and or assets to try and get Bijan basically right now.
How much would you how do I phrase this? If you've got the 1.01 and you're thinking of trading down to like a couple picks later so you can go to quarterback, because 1.01 should be
Mhm.
Bijan in every rookie draft. If you want to trade down just a couple picks to get a quarterback, if
Absolutely.
you're how much are you gonna want to ask in return?
Depending where you're moving back to, even still like the 1-2, like, you still got to give me, like we said, kind of at least still that 2 first or an asset on top of that. So if I'm gonna move
Mhm.
down, I'd probably like to move down to the 1-3 maybe. Let whoever is at the 1-2 take whoever. I'll take whoever's left at that point. But let me move maybe down to the 1-3. Give me the 1-3 and the 1-7 and a little piece, and that might incline me. But it is going to depend on your situation. Are you in a total rebuild mode where Bijan is just not, a value to you at this point in time?
Right.
So it all kind of depends, and then the format matters as well, right? Start 8, start 9, start 10, right? Those things kind of matter. Oh shit, I'm on the clock here, and I've got only a
Oh,
couple
oh,
seconds
oh!
left.
I didn't realize. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I probably should have took Deontay, but I went with Bateman. I don't even love the pick, but I'll take it for now. I wasn't paying attention. God damn. Monty will be the starter. Yeah, I 100% Monty is going to be the main kind of guy, but Swift is going to be that change of pace kind of guy. He's still going to get his catches, 60-40 Monty. Yeah, I'm not arguing that at all. I don't think that Swift is going to overtake or anything like that. They paid Monty, right? They gave him the money. He's going to be the guy that gets the majority of the work. But again, even with Swift getting 12 to 15 touches, I mean, he's still what last year gave you 13, 14 points per game, full PPR, something
Yeah.
like that. So even with the limited touches, like Swift is still going to be valuable. He's still going to give you production. I think he's a great buy low right now for guys that are off of him. Um, so if you can go out and get him for relatively cheap, you just got to understand what he's going to give you and what you're going to get out of him. Don't expect, RB1 numbers. He'll give you some RB1 weeks, of course. I'm sure he'll still have a few 100-yard games this year, but
Hmm.
not going to be, what we really, really want out of him. I think we know now he's just kind of that RB2 flex guy that you want to have. Matt Jones, okay. I was thinking about trying to go QB as well. I'm looking at
Yeah.
Stafford here. I'm looking at I don't know if Ritter is gonna last, but I still feel like I need
At least a solid
flex.
backup, because when your starters going by and all that, if they get hurt or something, if you don't have a
Mhm.
solid guy to fill in, that's really gonna hurt.
And Deontay win. I would have loved to take Deontay here, but now I'm at the point where okay, do we go with Josh Downs? Keenan Allen is just a little bit older. I don't love doing that there. So we're gonna take upside now. At this point, we're gonna take Kadarius Toney. Yeah,
Ooh.
I love taking, especially later on in these drafts where I have my course set up. So now how else do you want to set it up? For me, I like taking guys that are, have upside that their value can increase, from this point on. So
Hmm.
I'm typically not trying to take running backs in this area. I'm typically going after wide receivers that have upside, that I can either trade later on, or if they become something, then they do become something. So
Right.
it's just a tough position. I don't like the running backs that are here. Again, I like the year to year thing. I'm not taking a running back there. I could have went QB, could have went Stafford, could have went Ritter, could have went Jimmy G, but decided to go with some upside. And because I took the running backs early, I felt like I wanted to go wide receiver. I didn't want to take the risk of a couple guys that I like coming up, missing out on some of
Right.
these guys. But you went with Mac Jones. What was your feeling there? And you took Miles Sanders actually the pick before that. We didn't talk about that. But yeah, what's your take on those picks there?
Yeah. Sanders, I'm gonna just experimenting her, kind of go best available for the most part. Sanders, he's gonna be 26 when the season starts, so he's kind of mid tier in terms of age, but he's a solid guy. Finished as a running back 15 last year in PPR. It wasn't much of a factor in passing, but with a severe lack of pass catchers in Carolina, I think he can take over as like the number two, number three target, depending on how the draft goes. So I think Sanders has a great opportunity to become a three down back. And Deontay Foreman, was signed by the Bears, I believe.
That's right. Yep.
So for now, his only competition is Chuba Hubbard. Um, and let's be real,
Hmm.
he's not going to present that much of a threat. So yeah, I think Sanders is a great. I really like the pick there. I think he's a great 3 down back who has a good 3-4 years in him with solid production.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sanders. They gave him the money, which was important, right? They gave
Yeah,
him what,
yeah,
4 years, whatever it was, 25 mil. So they gave him the money. The problem now is, are they going to give him the volume? Are they going to give him the
right,
passing down work? Like that's the biggest thing, right now. Are they giving him the passing down work? Because his first season, I know he caught some passes. Then after that, they were kind of like, you know what, we don't want you to catch passes anymore.
yeah,
So, I mean, I know he's capable of catching passes. I know he's not, one of the best pass catching guys, but he can catch passes decently at least.
right,
But are they going to give him that? And are they going to draft somebody? Are they going to bring in, are they going to bring in somebody else? I don't know necessarily, with the contract that they gave him, but on top of that, I mean, how good is Carolina going to actually be? Obviously
right.
they're not the Eagles. They're not going to be, in the red zone. Is he going to score 11 touchdowns again this year? I don't know. Um,
Yeah,
are they going to have those chances down at the goal line? Are they going to be able to move the football? And are they going to be close in a lot of the games where they can rely on Miles Sanders running the football? Are they going to be
right,
down too much? And then on top of that, if he doesn't get that passing work, you know, and then think about it as well. I mean, he was on the Eagles last year. He finished only RB 15. If he didn't, if he's not catching passes again, I mean, do we expect him to do much better than what he did when he was on the Eagles? So it's one of those tough spots. But getting him late in drafts is definitely it's a good opportunity where you can get him that late. He can possibly be, a
right,
guy for the next few years. So it's a little bit rough. It's a tricky situation. And my thing about running backs is if like I'm not sure as soon as that value pops up, like Miles Sanders did right now, where he got the contract, I'm willing to move off. Let me move
yeah,
off. Let me get something more sure, or let me transfer that value over to another position that I need,
right,
like wide receiver or tight end, QB, whatever it is. But again, it just depends on how you wanna go about it. There's many different ways, but I'm one where like that running back value peaks. That's it. I'm off. I'll take that extra value at that point in time. What do y'all think about Kenny Pickett? What do you
I
feel
mean,
about Kenny Pickett? I've kind of shit on Kenny Pickett for the whole year, basically, even till now. But yeah, tell me what you think about Kenny Pickett before I.
I mean, I think he's okay. In terms of NFL standards, he's not going to lose you games, but he's definitely at this point. I don't really think he's going to be as talented as he. How do I phrase it? I don't think he's going to take a team to the next level, but I don't think he's going to necessarily lose you games. I think he's fairly, uh, quarterback 15 in terms of NFL talent, something like that. About
Mhm.
meh, not too good, not too bad. In terms of fantasy, my opinion doesn't change. I think he's kind
Yeah,
of nothing too special.
I just feel like his ceiling is probably like QB 15. Like I feel
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
like his ceiling. So in Superflex, I mean, if you can grab him late, if you're planning on making your team, getting all your other positions and then, going with Kenny Pickett as that second QB, depending on the situation, like I guess I'm okay with that, but I don't want to take my chances on
yeah,
Kenny
yeah. I
Pickett.
feel you.
I'm not trying to take those chances.
Yeah,
Yeah, what do we do? What do we do here? I mean, Mike Williams is still on the board. You've got Jalen Hyatt here. He's probably going to get the draft capital. And I'm not a Jalen Hyatt lover. I just feel like he's just wide open way too much. And it's not because he's just running crazy routes or anything like that. He just has the speed, busted coverages.
right.
I'm not a crazy lover of him. Damn, I really don't know who to go here. Wandell
Yeah,
Robinson. This is rough. Go with Hyatt just because of the draft capital. Hopefully, he finds a good spot.
right.
I don't love the pick at all. I'm not happy about it, to
Yeah.
be
At this
honest.
point, it's like these guys aren't gonna wow you with their value or anything like that. It's just gonna be guys that kind of fill up your bench in case you need it.
Yeah. Volume, volume, volume for Sanders. Yeah, I mean that's what we have to hope for. But again, what we hope for or what we want as fans and as fantasy players and what we think is best, unfortunately, it just doesn't matter because the NFL is going to do what they want to do.
Right, right.
So, you've got to always, take that into consideration. And again, I mean, we're here doing Dynasty. We're predicting basically what's going to happen. We're predicting the future. We're predicting outcomes, and we're going to be wrong, just like the NFL is. I mean, QBs are one of the hardest to gauge. Well, it
Oh,
is your pick. You're coming down there. Okay.
yeah, I was
Uh,
debating for a while. I just don't know.
yeah,
I
and the
don't know if I
QBs,
like that pick.
yeah, the QBs are the hardest to gauge, especially coming out of college.
Yeah,
What QBs do you like? And it's like, okay, I like certain QBs, but who are I mean, we're not NFL scouts. I mean,
no,
NFL scouts can't even get it right. I mean, we've seen the Zach Wilsons, right? Um, of the world, the Baker Mayfields, the Johnny Manziels, right? I mean, they can't even get it right. So
no.
it's tough. It's tough for the QBs. Kenny Pickett or Will Levis. I'll take Will Levis at this point.
I
And
I
again,
think Lev
for the simple fact that to me, Kenny Pickett is at best he'll ever be is going to be a QB 15. So I'll take
yeah,
Levis, the rushing upside, and all that kind of yeah.
I think Levis will probably the fifth playoff talented enough to warrant that pick, but if he gets drafted that highly, that bodes well for him long term. I think he's
Well,
got
yeah,
the
if he's
arm
a top,
strength and the maturity to
yeah,
be solid, but kind of still. Okay,
yeah. I think if he's a top 10 pick, automatically he's got to be high altitudes. What up, bro? The Russell Wilsons. Yeah, I mean Russell Wilson's another kind of tough one. Like he's got the contract, so you can feel safe, in Dynasty for at least the next couple years. But like, what kind of season is he really going to give you? Like, he's not a top 12 guy anymore, so he's kind of in that 12 to 15 range. I think for me, as far as where he's going to finish. So it's rough. I don't really want
yeah,
anything to do with Russell Wilson. I think at best you can say how much worse is he going to be. I think that's like the best way that you can look at it is how much worse can he actually be from what he did,
yeah. I have
from
a
what he did last
rebuttal
year.
on that. Um, sorry.
Go ahead.
Russell Wilson obviously looked awful last season, but last two games he had without Nathaniel Hackett, he averaged over 20 points per game.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah,
that's
that's fair.
only two games, but with Sean Payton in the mix, quarterback willing coach, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think I think he'll go back to being solid next year. At least I
I mean,
think
and
so.
again, yeah, that's the hope. I mean, and again, you get like you said, you got Sean Payton, and we saw what he did obviously with Drew Brees once Drew Brees
Yeah,
kind of got older, where he couldn't really push the ball down the field, like he
correct.
used to, and Sean Payton game planned around that. Obviously, they had Alvin Kamara, they had Michael Thomas. Now obviously a little bit different, but you got Judy, you got Sutton, you've got some of these other wide receivers, you got Javante back there, so. I'm confident in Sean Payton that, Russell Wilson at least get back on track, but I don't expect him to finish as like a top 10 QB.
Yeah, yeah,
Can that happen? Of course, but we got to be realistic.
right.
The decline is there. He's not running as much as he used to. So wound up taking Wandell Robinson there. I was it was either between him or Mike Williams. I said, fuck it, let me take the younger guy just because of the way
Yeah.
my team is built kind of right now. I got the
So you
106.
looks like.
Go ahead. My bad. What'd you say?
Oh, I was saying your team's pretty much all youth. It looks like
Yeah,
all
I
youth.
think going with some of the upside, especially after those first few picks where I have my core built out. I'm looking for upside and for value to increase so that I can use these guys to trade during the season to shape my team more into how I want it to be. I don't necessarily have to keep all these guys, but again, once that value goes up, I'm good moving off of guys that are not my core to try and tier up or turn my team around into a different kind of way,
Right.
depending on the values that I get. But I got the 106, and my top three will either be Levis, JSN, and Gibbs. Yeah, I mean, if you're in need of the QB, you probably have to go Levis there, but otherwise, I'll take JSN. And
Yeah.
again,
I
depending
mean,
where these guys go as well, where does Levis get drafted? How high does he get drafted? I would agree. It's crazy. The ship has sailed for Russell Wilson. He just got a surgery that they won't name what the surgery was. I think we heard of it. What was the surgery that he had? Was it his shoulder or something like that?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't remember. I know it was something. I don't really remember.
Also go top 10. He should go top 10 compared to the
Yeah.
teams that need QBs. So, I think that's definitely in the realm of possibilities. So, yeah, if he goes top 10 and depending where he goes, I think, he's got a good shot to do something. They're saying,
Right.
is this a Josh Allen 2.0? Now, I don't know. The thing is, like, how many Josh Allens are there? There's only one, right? The
Right.
chances
Right.
that this guy turns into another Josh Allen are low, but at the same time, if he finds himself in the right situation where they can work with him to get better, because he can throw the ball, like he's not a Malik Willis type where like he can throw the ball, he's not an Anthony
Yeah.
Richardson. He can throw the ball better than that. So, he's got the tools there, but he's got to like if he can land in like a Seattle where he can sit behind Geno for a year or two, learn the offense and learn everything. I think that's more of an ideal situation than him going to like
Hmm.
the Colts and starting right away.
Right.
So just really need wide receiver. What would you give up for Judy? Judy, like pick wise, Superflex, probably like the 1.8 or so, probably. Is probably in that kind of range, give or take. What do you think, Bolo? How do you view Judy?
Yeah, I think in terms of a rookie picks, I think he'd be like mid second. I really don't think you'll be able to get anything more than a mid second, high second out of him, because of how dysfunctional the offense was last year and how grim it appears for the future. I really don't think you're going to get that high of a pick out of him. Like I said, I think mid second is kind of a decent estimate to me.
Yeah, mid to early second is probably that range that he'll go. But I'd rather like I in this particular draft, like I'd rather have Beauty than the 108. Like that's kind of where I was going with that as far as, just the pick value.
Uh huh.
Because, after the Bijans, the JSNs, the Gibbs, and the quarterbacks, like I'm okay with getting out. I'm okay with getting out at that point. There is going to be risk with Quentin Johnson. There is going to be risk with Addison, and you can argue those guys as well. That's why I kind of came up with that like 1.8 kind of range there because after the QBs and some of those wide receivers, at that point, like I'll take Judy over anybody else. Anybody else in the draft after that.
Right.
Rayo said my QBs are Fields and Pickett. My top wide receivers are Watson and Dotson. My RBs are Bijan and Brees. So do I go roster construction at wide receiver? How do I take best available? Yeah, I mean, in your situation, I'm definitely taking Levis. That point, you can shore up the kind of QB position there. And then again, you got Fields, who's a guy that runs a little bit, so you could have those injury concerns. So yeah, I think I want Levis in that situation. And with your wide receivers, I mean, it doesn't look crazy great. You've got guys that are pretty decent, but now do you move Bijan or Brees for a top wide receiver? That's the kind of route that I would probably look at is coming off of one of those guys, getting yourself a nice top 10 wide receiver to go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, how many starters is there? Is it start 8, start 9, start
Yeah.
10? I mean, if it's start
Yeah.
8, then I'll just hold on to Bijan and Brees
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Your time is running real low, man.
Oh crap! I wasn't even paying
I
attention.
wasn't sure if you were aware or not already. I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
wasn't, but it's all right. Let me take Desmond Ritter. He's still sitting there, starting QB. Let me lock up a third QB there for
Yeah.
now. So
So
yeah, let me take Ritter there.
let me lock up the Arizona Cardinals and take Rondell Moore.
I like Rondell Moore.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Especially
Like,
with D Hop going out, Rondell Moore and what's his name? What's the other one?
Marquise? Or
Oh, not Marquise. The other guy they got Dortch. Greg Dortch is another like
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
late sleeper guy that cost you almost nothing to go and get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he could even be on waivers in
Yeah.
certain situations. So, let's see what else was going on in the chat over here. Last two picks were not mine. Sleepers behind is way behind. the YouTube video. Oh shit,
Yeah, sleeper is kind of buggy sometimes.
it is.
I don't
Would
know
y'all
what's up
give
with
up the
that.
209 for Muth? Yeah, I'd take Muth for the 209. I'll take Muth, especially if it's tight end premium. Yeah, I'll take Muth over the 209. You taking the 209 or you taking Muth there?
I think I'm gonna take Muth there.
Yeah, I'll take Muth. I
Yeah.
was telling I think a couple weeks ago I was on here telling people. I mean, Muth, if I'm not mistaken, you'll have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure I saw this somewhere. He's the first tight end ever to have 60 plus catches in his first 2 seasons. 60 catches each in his first 2 seasons
Yeah,
as a
that's
tight
not
end.
bad. Not
And his
bad.
QB situation is garbage. He's still getting targeted. He's still doing work. So yeah, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of Fryermuth or Baby Gronk, as we
Mhm.
call him there. All right, another tough, and I've been getting a lot of, especially in these mock drafts or even my real drafts, a lot of the Kadarius Toney, Wandale Robinson, Sky Moore, where just late in drafts, these are just flyer picks that you know they can increase in value.
Mhm.
That's what you want. That's what you're looking for. Again, we're not starting a team right now. We got plenty of
Right.
time to get a starting lineup together. So I'm pretty much always trying to go best player available. It doesn't matter if I don't have any running backs yet, or I need this or I need that. I want to go best player available. I want the value, because if you have the value, you can shape your team to however you want it, as long as you have guys to trade and get what you need. But if you don't
Yeah.
have those
Right.
guys to trade and get what you need, if you've got guys that are declining assets, it's going to be harder for you to come off of those guys and shape the team how you want it. So Rail said 12 team, 10 start, 10 PPR Superflex. So yeah, I think in that case, I'd probably want to come off of one of those RBs and build up the wide receiver room while you can. I think that'd probably be your best option.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we see Bijan went here at the 112. As the season comes, Bijan's going to be up in that 1-8 to 112 area. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think there's a
Yeah.
doubt in my mind that he's going to be drafted in super flex in that 1-8, that 1-8 112 area. I think easily. And in
Mhm.
not super flex, I mean, he's top. He could. That's a top 5 pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
In one QB. About Herbert and Lawrence, do you feel Lawrence will probably end up having a better career? I think they're very close, but I mean, I've loved what we've seen with Herbert so far his first 2 seasons. I mean, I think we talked about it earlier, 38 and 31 touchdowns the first 2 years. I mean, I think we've already seen it from Herbert, and we're starting to see it from Trevor Lawrence too. I mean, they're pretty much the same age, I think, right? 25 for Herbert, and
Um.
what is Lawrence, 23, 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2 year difference. But yeah, give me Justin Herbert and the 5,000 yards that he's throwing for every season and the 30 plus touchdowns. I still have Herbert over Lawrence. You could argue Lawrence, but I've got Herbert over Lawrence. What about you, Bola? What you got?
I think they're pretty much neck and neck. I mean, like I
Yeah,
mentioned earlier, I could
yeah.
easily be persuaded either way when it's nitpicky like that. Um,
Mhm.
I like the stability that Trevor Lawrence has around him.
Yeah.
I know it's crazy. A couple seasons ago, Jaguars were looked at universally as one of the worst teams in all of football. But now they've got Doug Peterson, they got Calvin Ridley, they got Evan Ingram, they've got
Mhm.
Christian Kirk, they've got Travis Etienne, they've got all these solid guys and a solid coaching staff, solid front office around him. Um, I think I'm leaning Trevor Lawrence. Not gonna lie, just because I really
Okay.
like the stability around him.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're neck and neck. You can go either which way,
Yeah,
any way that you want. I mean, they like you said, they're pretty much the same. I still just love me some Herbie. I mean,
yeah. I
you
mean,
don't just throw 38 touchdowns by accident.
yeah,
The 5,000 yards. I mean, and even last year, I mean, on a down year for Justin Herbert, he still finished as a QB1, top 12 QB. He just didn't throw as many touchdowns, which was understandable, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, out for most of the year. So,
mhm.
yeah. Still love me some Herbie there.
I don't blame you.
Where we at here? Oh shit, it's my pick. I keep missing this. Sheet Rice. Wow, Brandon Cooks is still here. See, I mean, the value of Brandon Cooks this late, even though he's an older player, like I'll take it. I mean, a couple good
Yeah.
games, you can move him if you need to, or I can start him. I mean,
Give
you can start him.
me, yeah, give me Mr. Hunt for my RB4.
Okay, he still don't have a team yet, but right,
Yeah,
but he'll go somewhere.
right.
And again, we might have to wait, like Zeke as well. We might have to wait till after the
Oh,
draft, where
yeah,
some of these teams might want to see who they're going to end up with, who they're able to draft, and then they'll go after some of these other running backs.
all right.
Yeah, I like Hunt there. Rashid Rice, we don't know obviously where he's going to go yet. Mims,
I've liked
Claypool.
what funny you mention those. I liked what I've seen from both Rice and Mims. I've been watching some tape on
Hmm.
them. I really like what I'm seeing with both of them. They could end up being decent values depending on where they end up.
Yeah, no, definitely, without a doubt. They could. I don't see them as being like possible wide receiver ones, at least in
Mhm.
fantasy. I think wide receiver two is probably mid wide receiver two is probably that ceiling for guys like those guys. But yeah, later
Yeah,
in drafts and especially in rookie drafts where you're getting them in the mid second round. And again, it's going to depend on where they get drafted and how high they get drafted. But
right.
mid second round, late second round, and super flex. I mean, you take a Mims or Rice, depending on what team they go to. Give you solid production there. There you go with Singletary. I'll take the
Yeah,
Elijah Mitchell here.
I like that.
I know we've got CMC, but Elijah Mitchell is getting work. CMC
Yeah.
gets hurt. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell hops right in. Elijah Mitchell is a guy that averaged over 100 yards from scrimmage, believe it or not, when he
Sheesh.
was healthy.
Yeah.
You know,
So clearly he's incredibly talented. He's just got
yeah.
to get the work.
And again, this kind of goes back to that, what we talk about with draft capital and these running backs, where Elijah Mitchell was drafted, they still went out and got CMC over a
Yeah.
100 yards a game. We just said it. This guy averaged over 100 yards from scrimmage, and they still went out and said, you know what, we'll go pay for CMC. You just take a back seat.
Right. I mean,
So it's rough.
yeah, we mentioned before the NFL is a business. If there's like my post today, actually, I was mentioning some guys with low draft capital that could easily be usurped. These guys
Hmm.
with low draft capital, no matter how talented they are, they could easily be overtaken by someone they took in the first and second round. That's
Oh
just
yeah,
how it works.
yeah. Cam Akers value. I actually love Cam Akers' kind of value as like where he's at now, where people kind of perceive him because
Mhm.
he's a sneaky, like a sneaky guy, especially in redraft. Not so much in Dynasty, but you can still get him decently late.
Yeah,
There's a possibility, uh, just by who they have on the team right now, that this coming up year, Akers could be a tremendous value in redraft leagues, getting them crazy
yeah,
late.
yeah,
Because I don't love him. I'm not in love with him, especially dynasty wise. But I think because of the situation, kind of like Dameon Pierce last year, where there was just nobody else there, like
yeah,
Akers could be, the guy this year. They'll replace him eventually, I think. But he could be the guy this year. Again, I don't love him in
yeah.
dynasty, but in redraft, I'll take him, or a late stab in dynasty. I mean, you're getting him here in the ninth, 10th round with guys like Isaiah Pacheco and Rashard White. He's kind of right in that range.
Hmm.
Wow, Monty fell. Holy crap.
Yeah, I
Monty
think
went up to
Monty was
10, 12.
pretty,
Wow.
yeah, that was a pretty good value there. I think he'll have a solid role this
That's
cup.
amazing value. Going
Yeah,
after Pacheco, after Aaron Jones, after Dalvin Cook. No way. For me, he's kind
yeah,
of
I
right in that
really
Miles
considered
Sanders.
Monty.
He's that Miles
Yeah,
Sanders area. He should be. Okay.
because
So
if I mean,
we're seeing that not the value of Monty. We're seeing him fall late. I love that.
right, like there, I really don't think he'll get 17 touchdowns or whatever. But clearly,
Yeah.
both running backs can get work. I mean, even the
No,
running back two
absolutely.
somehow gets more work than the running back one in Swift. It's funny how that works. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I think Monty will get his work. I think he'll get plenty of touches.
Do y'all do leagues that include viewers? I know Bull, you did redraft league. You do a couple redraft leagues, right? For your
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm starting up a dynasty startup for for viewers, subscribers, followers. I will be starting that up within the next couple weeks probably, just to get
Hmm.
everything together. I don't think we're gonna draft until after the NFL draft just to make it a little bit easier so we're not,
Right.
picking kickers for picks and that stuff. We'll just kind of put everything all together. Because that's kind of the easiest way to start it up. So yeah, I will be starting up one, possibly two, if we got enough people that want to do it. So, definitely just stay tuned on Instagram. So I'll put it out there, and if we get enough, then absolutely I'll do, one or two leagues, for followers, subscribers, and such. But I'd be interested if you want to let me know. Yeah, like I said, just follow me on Instagram because I'll post it. And if you comment on it, or I don't know if I'll put up a poll or whatever the case is, just be active in it, and I'll text you or I'll DM you actually. But let's look at some of the teams here and see kind of what we like, what we're thinking. Let's start with, I guess, the 101 here, Big Diaz energy. But yeah, what do you think about this team, Bowler? We'll start you off here. What do you think about this team and how he drafted, how he ended up here
So clearly he's going to win now. I mean,
with
with
Kelsey?
Kelsey,
Yep.
Cup, Adams, McLaren, and Rogers, he's got some younger pieces in there, but the majority, like more than half his team, is win now guys.
Yeah.
With Mahomes and McCaffrey and Pierce there, he's got some pieces that'll be nice along the season. But a lot of those guys are 30 plus years old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clearly he took Kelsey and then probably decided what the heck, and then just started taking older guys for the value there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, win now team. He'll probably be
Definitely.
he'll probably be out of the playoffs here in a couple years once these older guys are out of the picture for the most part.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about, drafting some of these older guys, especially if they're like your core players, which they
Hmm.
kind of are in this situation. And now, the problem is they're just going to expire all at the same time, right?
Right, right.
So you might have that nice 2, 3 year window, but after that, it's going to be extremely hard to come back from that. On top of that, you've got to hope that Jordan Love turns out into something, because once Aaron
Hmm.
Rodgers is gone, now you're going to have, no wide receivers, no tight end, no
Right,
QB. So it's gonna be rough to kind of come off of some of these guys, and the value that you're gonna get is gonna be nothing, compared to what you're gonna want. So
right.
the rebuild is gonna be tough, I think, for this kind of team. And again, you drafted this way, you don't have to go into the season that way, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
you can still make some trades and make some moves, and see what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, if this is what you were going for, that nice 2 to 3 year window, and then you'll have to rebuild for a little bit, then
Hmm.
absolutely, I like it. But yeah, it's definitely a good team for that win now mode.
Yeah,
I like it a lot there. I don't. Oh, Pierce, I guess. I don't know if I love the Pierce pick. Not bad, but
yeah.
and Terry
I'm
McLaurin, Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers,
I'm
but
not really confident in Pierce at all. Um,
me
he
neither.
had
And
during when he was healthy, he had like I don't know the exact statistics, but I did a post on this a couple months ago, or whatever. During his healthy games, he had like the fifth most carries in the NFL, but he was the
mm,
RB 23 in points per game. So whether that's Pierce not being able to create something out of nothing, or just the Texans being that bad, Pierce was just not very productive with the workhorse load that he got. Not very
mhm.
productive.
Yeah, and who knows if he's getting a workhorse load again. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it was kind of situation. I mean, all he had was Burkhead that he was competing with. So, you know, but yeah, who'd they bring in? Didn't they bring in somebody already?
it brought in Devin Singletary.
Singletary, okay. And then again,
Yeah,
Singletary is not a crazy kind of guy. He'll eat in maybe a little bit, but this is why, a lot of people now are saying get off of Damian Pierce, which of course, we want to get off now. But now what's the value of him compared to what it was last year when he
right.
was balling? This is why, I continuously say to just trade these guys at that peak value if they're not, if they didn't have that draft capital, if the team didn't invest that into them, just come off of the guy quick and early. And I know it sucks, and I know we want to win now, and we're like, damn, but he's giving me the points, and he's a young guy, and he could be the future. But I don't want to bet on what could be. I want to bet on, what the higher percentage is going to be.
Right.
That's how I look at things. I look at the math, I look at the numbers. What's the best outcome? What's the highest percentage outcome? And I kind of make my decisions from there. And for me, Pierce just doesn't have a high percentage outcome, and I don't want to take that chance. So at
Mhm.
peak value, I want to come off and take advantage. You
Right.
know
Right. Want to sell these guys before their value plummets. Unfortunately, Pierce's
exactly,
value has
exactly.
plummeted.
And that's the fine line that we run into, in Dynasty is, when is it time to come off of these guys? How much does the production matter to you? Because we do want to win,
Right.
but
Right.
at the same time, like you don't want to die with certain guys on your team. So if you've got a Cup or you've got Adams on your team and they're not your core guys, like, oh, that's great, that's amazing. But if those are
Right.
your
Right.
core guys and they expire at the same time, it's just tough to rebuild when you have nothing of value to,
Right.
reshape your team. That's the hardest ones to rebuild. All right, let's move on to the second team here quick. Shinbone goes with the Burrow and Young combo. Okay,
Hmm.
Kenny Walker rounds off a few wide receivers: Watson, Pickens, Dotson, Flowers, Algier follows up with Hendon Hooker, Dolchich, Komet, Howell, Bigsby, Mims, and Scott. Okay, how do you feel about Dolchich? Because
I like
I'm
him going
scared.
forward.
I'm a little bit scared about Dolchich.
Personally, I like him going forward.
Yeah,
He's he's very clearly above Albert, whatever his last name is,
Alberto. Yeah,
Alberto. He's very clearly above him. So as tight end one in there. And in Sean Payton's offenses, they've used tight ends pretty frequently. They've used Taysom Hill, they've used John Johnson, they've used what is it, Jimmy Graham? I think he was
yeah, Jimmy
on the
Graham
Saints
back
for
in
a
the day.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they've used tight ends a lot in their offenses. So I think Greg Dulcich, who was already solid last year, but dealt with some injuries, I believe. I think Dulcich could have another solid season in 2023.
Yeah, I think, my concern was just the hype of Alberto obviously last year, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, was so big on Alberto. And then now it's like, okay, we do have a new coaching staff. Like, do they feel the same way? Do they actually still like
Yeah.
Dolchich way more? So that's like the one thing that worries me. And I don't think like Dolchich is that good enough to go out there and say, I gotta have a Greg Dolchich. So for me, I just kind of stay away from it. Like,
Mhm.
at the tight end position, like after Njoku, it's like I don't know who kind of I want there.
Yeah.
Njoku's like my favorite late tight end to get. That's like the line.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
bottom line for me. I want to have something better than Njoku, but Njoku is like the guy that I'll fall on. If I want to grab a wide receiver and wait on tight end, like
Right. Right.
because for me after Goddard, it's like I'll just wait until Njoku's turn is until it's Njoku range.
Right. Right. 'Cause no one else is really worth getting, really.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, this particular team, I mean, I like the team. You got the two QBs early. You've got Kenny Walker. You got some wide receivers with some upside. I'm not a crazy huge Watson lover. I'm one that's like take advantage of the value right now. Don't take the
Hmm.
chance. Cheer up if you can to the Olaves, the Metcalfs, the Drake Londons, the
Yeah.
Devonta Smiths. Get something a little more concrete. And you might not have to give up much more than Christian Watson. Christian Watson in a second, maybe early second. I don't know. It depends on how people view him, but I want to get off. I want to get off if I can.
Yeah.
That kind of worries me a little bit, especially without Aaron Rodgers. I mean, how good is Jordan Love going to be? If Aaron Rodgers couldn't fucking do it, what makes us think Jordan Love can do it? I don't know.
Yeah. And what concerns me is how ridiculously heavy Roger relied on Christian Watson in the end zone. I
Yeah,
mean, Watson
exactly.
was scoring
Yes,
like 2, 3
absolutely.
touchdowns a game, and I highly
Mhm.
doubt that's going to carry on to Jordan Love.
Yeah, that touchdown production is gonna be rough. And even last year, that's why I was like, damn, like I'm coming off. Like once the hype is there, once the value is at the peak, like because he's viewed right now as almost like a top 15 dynasty wide receiver.
Yeah.
For me, he's more in the 15-20 range, but some people have him in that top 15. And if you're gonna tell me that you're going to value Christian Watson as a top 15 wide receiver, I'm going to take advantage and come off of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is a chance that Jordan Love just doesn't do well and Watson doesn't have a good season, and then that value is going to absolutely plummet.
Yeah.
So and the chances that that happens compared to the chances that he has a great season, again, we're looking at the percentages, right? I don't want to take that chance. I'd
Right.
love to come off if I can. But yeah, what do you feel about other than Christian Watson, George Pickens? What do you feel about George Pickens?
I personally really like George Pickens going forward. I do see him as like a sort of like discount Tyreek Hill, someone who can go all the way downfield, make these giant acrobatic catches. Someone who's able to make an impact in only like three or four catches a game, those big long downfield catches. But in turn, that makes him a little bit more volatile. But
Mhm.
as Pickens and Pickett, as their connection continues to grow over the years, I think Pickens will turn into a solid production player for your team.
Yeah, I mean, Pickett's just got to take that next step. Pickens
Yeah.
has got to take that next step. But yeah, I like Pickens. There are small concerns where it's like why do we always have to see this guy make a highlight catch? Like, is it because he's not getting open? Is the separation not there? I haven't dug into it yet, which I will, because that
Hmm.
is something that I need to look at. And reception perception. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but Matt
Yeah, I
Herman's
have.
reception
Yeah.
perception. I do follow that a lot because I think it's a really good guideline, especially for young wide receivers to see,
Uh-huh.
who's winning routes, who's getting separation, because most of the time these are the guys that wound up turning out to be those dynasty assets,
Yeah.
going forward. So, we got to look into him a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, he's got the ability to obviously make those crazy catches, and he wound up falling in the draft because of his injury. So, he
Yeah.
was a guy that was great in college, had some great college production. Rayo said Devonta Smith instead of JSN and Miles Sanders instead of Kamara. All right, so yeah, let's go. Let's do your team since you're in here. Let's do your team real quick. Rayo. So he's eternal here. We've got Fields and Stroud, JSN. So instead of JSN, he would have went Devonta Smith. He said he got auto pick there. I don't. I
Hmm.
don't. I'm not complaining about the JSN pick.
No, me neither.
So I don't mind that at all. He's right in that area for me. He's right kind of after the Olave, the London for me. And he might be even better than those guys, but I think just we don't know the spot yet. We haven't seen him play yet, so I kind of have to put him like right at the end of that range. But he's in that same tier
Right.
without a doubt. And then he said instead and Miles Sanders instead of Kamara, he would have took. Okay, they got Saquon, Judy, Ayuk. I like me some Judy. I like the upside there. I love Ayuk
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
I was known last season, before the season started. One of my bold takes was that Ayuk would finish or have a better season than Debo Samuel. Now,
Which I
obviously,
believe
Debo got
happened, if I'm
hurt,
not.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Debo got hurt, so I can't really take the full credit for it. But we saw what Ayuk can do, in his breakout last
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. And with Christian McCaffrey there, Debo's usage definitely, was not as much as it was the year before.
Yeah, Debo's a big, big sell for me, and I'll put a video out on him, a sell for Debo. But I mean, one good season. He's had one
Yeah. Yeah.
outlier season in which he's not going to be used the same way anymore because, like you mentioned, they do have CMC now, right? They do have Ayuk. They've got Elijah Mitchell there. So, unless CMC gets hurt or Mitchell gets hurt, like I don't see Debo getting the carries or at least the goal line carries like he did
Yeah.
that one season before. So,
Yeah. Especially if Trey Lance were to earn that starting job,
yeah,
Debo's
even more.
rushing usage would go down even more
Even
than it
more.
already
Yep.
is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Charbonnet, love it. If you would have went Miles Sanders there, I would have loved that too.
Hmm.
Akers, not bad. Michael Mayer, I like that. We got to see where he lands. Obviously, Tajay Spears, who's like a top 8 guy.
Yeah, I
For me at
liked what
least.
I've seen of Spears. He is on the small
Hmm.
end, but I liked what I've seen from him.
Yeah, I like him. I mean, Izzy Abaconda, well, however you say his last name, has been rising up boards a little bit too. They just had him running like a 4.2 or something like that. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw that. at the pro day, which he does have. He does have good speed, but it's rough. It's kind of just after like Gibbs and Charbonnet. It's kind of just a mixture of like five
Could
to
be
ten
anyone's
guys
game.
almost.
Like who knows? Yeah.
There's so many guys like in that area after the Gibbs, and I kind of have Charbonnet ahead of everyone else because I feel like he can be a real like 3 down back kind of dude if
Hmm.
he finds himself in the right situation. And maybe he does only turn out to be a first and second down guy, but he's one of those bruisers, that takes hits, he takes damage, he dishes damage. So I like
Yeah.
Charbonnet. I'm excited to see where he winds up going. But yeah, man. I mean, I like the team. If you would have took Miles Sanders, I would have loved that even better.
Yeah.
JSN or Devonta, whoever you had there, it doesn't matter. I like that as well. You got Saquon. Saquon's is another rough one. Like I feel like Saquon got screwed with the contract that he got, having to get the tag instead of actually getting the contract.
Yeah.
Now they did offer him the contract last year. I think they offered him a 4-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, during the season.
Hmm.
And he wound up not taking it, and I think that fucking really, really, really hurt him.
Like he should have
And the
taken that,
Giants
man. Like
suck, man, and they definitely did a disservice of not picking up Daniel Jones' 5th-year option because now they gotta fucking pay him.
yeah,
But if
yeah.
they would have picked up his option, they could have saved and waited at least another year and said, "You know what? Give us 1 more year, Danny Dimes, before we kinda commit to you,"
Hmm.
but they
Yeah.
didn't. And this is, and Saquon's in a scary position because he's gonna be 27 going to the season. Now, who's gonna give him a deal after this? At
Hmm.
age 27, it's just rough.
He's
I
dealt
think
with
that
some
that really
injuries,
hurt him.
so his availability is definitely coming in question a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that definitely hurt him. But look, overall, I like the team, Rayos. I
Yeah.
like the team. You've got young guys in there. You've got some value. You don't really got any old players or declining assets except for the Kamara pick, but obviously he didn't mean to
Yeah.
make that.
Yeah.
Let's check out Matty. Check out Matty J real quick. Wounds up with Josh Allen and Prescott, Diggs, Addison, Cooper, Deontay, J.K. Dobbins, JT,
I'm
Aaron
a big fan
Jones.
of this team. I got to tell you.
What is it?
Sorry, I'm a big fan of this team. I got to tell you, I really like what they got going.
Yeah, I like that. You got the Allen, you got the Prescott, so you locked up the 2 QBs,
Uh huh.
right? You've got, I mean, Waller is upside. I mean, at that particular time in the draft, like I don't mind taking him over some of the other guys that
Yeah.
are there, like the Knoxes and the. I mean, Ingram is good, but he's got the 1 year. Like, are they going to give him the contract after that? Are they going to wind up paying him, or are they going to draft somebody and kind of go that
Right.
route? So, I like Ingram for at least a year. Waller just hasn't been able to stay healthy, so I'm not a Waller fan. But getting him down here, I'm okay with that. And then you got Darnell Washington down there as well. But yeah, I like you kind of got a mixture a little bit older with the Diggs and the Cooper Cup, but you still got some young guys in there as well. So you got
Hmm.
JT. I like this. I like the squad.
Yeah,
I
I
like
do
the
too.
squad. JK's got sneaky upside too. Hopefully they don't draft anybody, but
Hmm.
it's just hard to trust Baltimore at all with these running backs.
Right.
You know. Yeah, overall, yeah, I like this team too.
Yeah.
I like it. And you got, even with Diggs and Cooper, like they're old, but you still got those, still got those nice, at least 2, 3 years left of this
Right.
elite
Right.
production.
You've got Addison. You've
Hopefully
got
anyway.
sorry. You've got Addison. You've got Deontay, and you've got Rasheed Rice down there as well. You've got some guys who could turn out to be decent guys here in the future.
Yeah, look, I mean, Deontay will be 27 going into the season, and I love Deontay. He's a great route runner, massive target hog, and
Hmm.
he finished wide receiver 30 last year in PPR, right? But he
Right.
had 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah. Like just a
So,
few
obviously,
more
we
points.
expect a positive regression, right?
Yeah.
And that'll put him up there. I mean, wide receiver 30 with no touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good.
Not bad.
But again, he can only kind of go up from there. I don't know if he can get much worse than what he did last year. So
Right.
I do like Deontay as a sneaky kind of late pick there.
Right.
Let's check out Delano real quick. We went with JJ, Garrett Wilson, and Olave. So straight up went top young wide receivers off the bat.
Yeah,
Don't mind that. Andrews. But then we got the QB, we got the QB situation. And that's what it does, right? If you don't get the QBs early, now you've got Russell Wilson and Will Levis. We don't even know if Will Levis will start at the beginning of the
right,
season.
right. So you could
Or
be
if
in
he'll
for
turn out into anything. So, we've
yeah,
got major question marks at QB. I mean, even at tight end, like if Lamar doesn't go back, I mean, what does that mean for Andrews' value, right?
yeah, exactly.
What's your social media tags for the possible leagues? Look in the description of this video on YouTube. In the description there, it should have all of my socials, so you should be able to just click it right there. But
Hmm.
um, Dynasty Life Fantasy is the Instagram. Twitter is Dynasty Life FF. Everything is there for you. Just check that out. Addison or QJ? For me, I've got QJ over Addison. I just think the upside of QJ is tremendous. And of
Hmm.
course, he could bust. He could be either the next DK or he can be the next, Lions Mike Williams or Kevin
Yeah,
White. Like,
yeah, yeah,
he could be one of those guys. But, don't forget, guys, we said the same thing about DK coming out, that he didn't have a great route tree. He didn't have an extensive route tree. He wasn't a great route runner. He had to improve on that. And look what DK has done and what he has become. So
right.
I kind of look at QJ as kind of like that same kind of situation a little bit. But what about you? Well, you got QJ or Addison? Who do you got?
I think I'm leaning Quentin as well. I mean,
Yeah,
just his crazy ceiling is just top notch. I don't think Addison has quite that ceiling, but I think Addison has a bit higher floor in that, if that makes sense.
absolutely,
Addison has a higher
100%,
floor, but QJ has the higher ceiling. And in fantasy,
100%,
you want that ceiling. Yeah.
100% right, man.
Yeah.
100%, love it. Rayos, it's been a pleasure and appreciate it. Yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you
Hmm.
dropping in.
Yep. Take care.
I can talk football all night. This is why I'm on live 3 nights a week, because I
Yeah.
can talk football every day, all night. And like I always tell, I'm here for y'all. I'm just, we're bringing out our insight for y'all, bringing out our advice. But yeah, I worry about the QBs here. That would be
Yeah.
the major concern. And then you kind of just went crazy at running back here. Wound up
Yeah.
taking Izzy down there, which I love that pick. I love the Roshan Johnson. I love the Izzy pick. I love those.
Hmm. Yeah.
Gibby is another crazy late sleeper that I
Yeah.
love to grab late. I love me some Gibby.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Especially with McKissick, he was
Mhm.
released, I think, and he was a thorn in Gibson's back in terms of receiving. Without him, Brad Robinson catches is a 0 in the pass game.
Yeah.
So Gibby, whoever the Commanders bring in at quarterback, whether it's Howell or whoever, Gibby, I think he could be in for a solid season.
Yeah. I mean,
Taking
yeah.
over that receiving role from McKissick.
Now, Gibby is a guy that obviously before B-Rob got there, I think he was a top 12 running back for, yeah, I mean, 12 and 13, the first two
Yeah,
seasons coming in. He was actually a wide receiver coming into, he wasn't even a running back.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they transferred him over to running back and finished really well those first 2 years. And then kind of, Ron Rivera came in there and said he was going to use him like CMC. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, that was a bit wild.
Fucking lied to us all.
Come on, man.
Lied to us all, and then he's talking about, it's that two-back workhorse like he had in Carolina, the D'Angelo
Hmm.
Williams, and, who was the other guy? Who was it? D'Angelo Williams and who else?
It was. It wasn't.
Who was the
I don't
damn
remember
other
off the top of
guy?
my head.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I don't remember either.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I love Gibby, especially late this year or
Hmm.
as your RB2 flex position guy, like extremely cheap you can get him for, especially with the deep running back class that there is this year.
Hmm.
Um, you can get him for decently cheap. James Cook is decent, I guess, but I mean, I've been telling everybody since he came out, James Cook, he was never a workhorse running back. I don't think he's ever even had more than like 8 carries in a college game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, just kind
And
of.
he's small.
Yeah, I mean, without Singletary, he could have a bigger role, but they could draft Bijan.
Oh
So
yeah, I think they want to have a guy that they can rely on,
yeah,
to run the football because other than Diggs, like they don't have any playmakers.
no,
You know,
no,
and Cook didn't turn out to what we wanted him.
no,
Mad
yeah,
Roshan is climbing. Oops, my bad. Roshan is climbing so fast. Yeah, I mean, the problem was that he had to sit behind Bijan, so he's
yeah,
kind of going under the radar. But now, as we're seeing him, at the combine and the pro days and all this kind of stuff, we're starting to see how good like he maybe actually is. So he's a mid to early second now. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
He's in my top 10. He's in my top 10 for rookie running backs coming out. 2 months ago, he was a third. Yeah, I mean, he was like not even being talked about at all for a
yeah.
while. So still a
You
fan
gotta
of
look.
Tucker. Only players that don't do combine is players who know their worth. I mean, listen, I love me some Tucker. And I think that if he does get a chance to run and get clocked, people will see that speed and move him up the draft boards, just like we saw happen with Izzy.
Mhm.
Didn't run at the combine, but now we see the speed, and that speed moves them up draft boards. Now, does that speed always relatively mean that they're going to work out in the NFL? No, absolutely not. But we see that this happen time and time again, where that speed just pushes guys up the draft board.
Right.
Um, like Jalen Hyatt, I was worried about that he would run like a 4.2 and he'd be drafted in the first round. And I'm like, no, like that's not what should be happening. But he only ran like a 4.4, which was actually disappointing. But yeah,
Yeah, only a
I do
4-4.
love me some Tucker.
That's no big deal.
Tucker kind of reminds me of like Tony Pollard a little bit. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know if
I
he'll
can
get the
see
three down
that.
back. Did you see that?
Mhm.
Like, I don't
Yeah,
know if he'll be the 3 down guy, but he could be. But he could just have that nice Tony Pollard kind of role where he gets that 15 to 18 touches, and shit, I'll take it.
right.
Depending where he goes. So, but there's a lot of good teams that need some running back help. Bears might go crazy and
Mhm.
draft Bijan, bro. As soon as
That would be surprising.
soon as Monty was signed to the Lions, that's the first thought that went into my mind is how genius of a GM would we consider Ryan Poles if he went out and drafted Bijan after moving down, getting a ton of assets, getting DJ Moore? Like, how much of a
Mhm.
genius would he look like?
Sheesh, yeah. That
And
would
what
be
would their
awesome.
team look like now with Justin Fields, Bijan, DJ Moore, Mooney, Claypool? Like you've got guys now. They stacked up on defense as well. So
Mhm.
I like what they're doing there. And I
Yeah,
think that would be great if they did draft Bijan. Honestly,
yeah, for sure.
they've got to take him at 9 though. That's the only problem.
Yeah,
And there's
I
talks
don't
about them moving back too. So
I don't really think the NFL values running backs enough to really take them that
that's the
high.
problem.
Obviously, guys like
Ever
Saquon is an
ever since
exception,
Saquon. Yep.
but yeah, the NFL doesn't really view running backs highly enough to take them that high consistently.
Some smoke with Bijan to the Bears, but their new regime, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love it, bro. I love it,
Yeah,
man. How crazy would that offense be? Obviously, second round pick as a tackle. Yeah, I mean, I seen a meme that Ryan Poles was like, "Fuck it, I'll go out there and play tackle."
yeah, yeah. The Bears have not had the best offensive line over the past 3 seasons. Like, wasn't Justin Fields like one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the entire?
Yeah, one of the most sacked, and he's had like crazy amount of turnovers too.
Yeah,
Justin
yeah,
Fields. Which isn't great, but I mean, he's young. Hopefully, he can overcome that this year.
yeah.
We should
And his
see an increase this year, an
yeah,
improvement.
and his wide receiver one was like Equanimeous St. Brown for a
I
couple
mean,
days,
yeah,
or a couple games.
you got St. Brown, and then the 25-year-old rookie Velas Jones. I mean, he had nobody to throw the ball to.
Well, wasn't Chase Claypool claimed he was a top 3 wide receiver at one point on the Bears? Maybe.
Yeah, he was lying to himself.
Yeah,
I
like come
mean,
on.
obviously, you want that confidence, but I think we
Come
know
on.
what Claypool is at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had the great season with Big Ben, and he was catching those bombs. And
Mhm.
listen, we saw it with Juju too, right? He had that great season, and then Juju
Yeah.
just became who
Yeah.
Juju is. And I think we kind of know what Claypool is at this point in
Yeah.
time. And they spent a second round pick, which was I thought was a high pick to
Yeah,
take on.
that seemed a bit steep for him. That
Yeah.
seemed a little high.
All right, let's check out. Let's run through these other teams real quick before we hop off
Yeah.
here. Let's check out Shaw real quick. Chase, Murray, Pitts. I love the first three picks.
Yeah, those are solid.
I don't really love what happens after that though.
I think shortly after that he went auto. So sleeper
Okay,
kind of gave
gotcha.
Jesus the
Yeah,
wheel on that one.
Eckler, Najee, Chubb. I mean, not horrible. You got running backs at least with some value you can come off of if you need to.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, Mike Evans, Mike Williams. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, you got the first three picks. I love. I love the first three picks,
Yeah.
but no QB2. So that's obviously gonna.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
See what Love Tractor's got going on here. Trevor Lawrence and Anthony Richardson, AJ Brown, JMO, Stevenson, Pittman, Baby Gronk, David Carr. Okay. Back that up with David Carr just in case Richardson doesn't come out right away. Rashard White, Juju, Gabe Davis. Yeah, I mean, this team's
I
not
like
that
it.
bad either. What do you think about this team?
I think he's got a lot of young guys who'll keep him afloat for a while. If Anthony Richardson can be what his potential is, because he's got like Lamar Jackson potential with that
Yeah,
ridiculous rushing upside. He's only like 3 pounds less than Derek freaking Henry. He will be
crazy, right?
ridiculous running out on those freaking on those longer rushes, all that. So I think if Anthony Richardson can be what we think he can be, and Ramondre can replicate those seasons, that 2022 season for next coming seasons, I think this will be a competing team.
Yeah, I think that's one of my issues with Stevenson. It's just hard to obviously trust the Bill Belichick. Last year,
Yeah,
obviously, he got the workload, but was that more of, again, was that more of situation, more than anything, right? Because Damian Harris went down. What's his name? James White went down. So they had
yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
nobody. And, they already bring in J Rob this year, right? Do they wind up drafting somebody or do they just roll with, what's his name? The hell's the other running back they got over there?
They got
Why am I drawing a blank here? I've got him on a bunch of my teams.
they've got okay.
Damn, sleeper's bugging.
I don't remember.
Uh, damn it. Why can't I? Sleeper is freaking out over here. My phone. Wow. Feel like a retard right now. I can't think of.
Is it Ty Montgomery?
No. He was a rookie last year.
Oh,
Hold on. I got him on a bunch of my teams. Give me. I'll remember it. I'm gonna. Pierre Strong. There you go. Boom. Fuck.
there you go. Yeah,
Pierre
yeah, I forgot
Strong,
about
right?
him.
Do they just use Pierre Strong in that role as the third
Yeah,
down guy, or do they bring someone else in? But does that hurt Stevenson or not? Does that make him more efficient? Because he did start to break down a little bit once he was getting the workload towards the end of the season. So I don't know, what Bill Belichick was going to want to do. But again, one of those guys where last year peak value, come off of if you can, unless you absolutely need to rely on him. But yeah, I still think he could finish in the top 10, but
yeah, for sure.
we need him to still get that workload that he
Yeah.
had. Fields is a top 5 QB next year. Yeah, I can definitely see that. He's going to take that step up. Got to take that step up.
Well, I mean, wasn't he already a top 5 quarterback this past year?
Yeah, you can say that as well. I mean, as far as Dynasty is moving on up, but this is going to be the year where he takes that biggest, or he should at least take that biggest leap.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, Stevenson thing, I mean, I'm just worried. I mean, I think there still is that possibility he finishes top 10. I'm not willing to bet on it if I don't
yeah.
have to. If I can
Especially,
come off and get a wide receiver, like, I'd much rather do that.
yeah,
Yeah, Stevenson,
especially
will
as
he
you're,
be top 10? They'll
yeah,
draft a running back. Yeah. They could, without a doubt.
Yeah, especially him as your running back one without the best core behind him. It's kind of sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. All right, let's check out TD Howe here. We got Lamar, CD, and DK. Love to start. ETN, DJ
Hmm.
Moore. Love it. I mean, Kenny Pickett and then Geno Smith. So yeah, I mean that's the route you want to go. Go with the one QB, the one stud QB, and then see what's left later on.
Yeah.
Get stuck with Kenny Pickett and Geno Smith, so you can live with that, for a few years. But you were able to get CD, you're able to get DK,
Hmm.
ETN, so you're able to set up at least your core. You got Ridley down here as well. Josh Downs, Elijah Moore. I love. I was stuck between Kadarius Toney and Elijah Moore when I picked
Hmm.
that round before. Um, but A-Chain, who I like as well, but I mean the
Yeah.
guy's just small. Like, is he going to get the workload? Where's he going to get drafted? Is he going to be the 3-down back? I don't think he's a 3-down back in the NFL. I
No.
think that's been my
Yeah.
outcome and my take for a while
Yeah.
for
I think
A-Chain.
he'll be strictly a third down back, not a 3-down back, because
Yeah, yeah.
just because of his speed. He could end up being just a strictly like special teams guy. Even I mean, who knows? He's got the ridiculous speed, but he's small, so I don't know how much teams are going to be willing to give him the ball.
Yeah, or how fantasy relevant is it going to be, especially if you're not in
Yeah,
PPR.
yeah.
But yeah, like let's say like the Chargers wound up getting A-Chain, right? And we saw obviously what Eckler could do, right? That obviously is a little bit more enticing, but I don't know. I'm not a huge A-Chain guy. Like even Deuce Vaughn, a lot of people were on Deuce Vaughn for a while. I mean, that guy's 5'5".
Yeah, yeah. That's very small. And then he never became anything. He was completely
Hey,
irrelevant.
I'm not taking that chance. I'm not taking that chance. Well, waivers are going to be. Oh, my bad. I'm looking at something here. Um, oh shit! I got a. Oh, nice. I just made a trade actually, and I just got myself Deshaun Watson in this one league. We'll talk about
Nice.
that. Talk about that, and well, fuck it. I might as well talk about it. So I traded the 102,
Hmm.
the 210, a 2024 third, and a 2024 second, and got Deshaun Watson in a Superflex start 10 league.
That seems
Um,
like a lot to give up for him. I feel.
It's not compared to what he's going for. Because I gave up the 102 and the 210. I'd rather much have a Deshaun Watson or a Kyler Murray, than one of the rookie guys coming in, right? Like we
Huh.
mentioned before, it's hard to gauge those rookie guys coming in. I
That's
needed a
right.
QB, and I want to shore up that QB spot. I've got Joe Burrow already in this league, so now I got Joe Burrow and Watson,
Oh
which
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like which makes me feel so much better. The 210 was not a big deal for me. I had the 201 as well, and this guy was trying to get the 201. I didn't want to give up 201 because I
hmm,
want to take a running back at that spot. And then giving up the third is no big deal. That's almost irrelevant for me giving up
yeah.
the third
Pretty
round
much.
pick. And the 2024 second, like I'm fine with it because I'm really only giving up one first and 2 seconds, and I'm getting me a top 12 QB.
Yeah,
And in this particular league, it's hard to get QBs. So I'll I'll absolutely take it. I'm excited that I got it. I'm excited.
yeah. Well, when you
We
put
got
it like that, I mean, I
we
can't
got
really
Watson
refute
and
that.
Burrow,
That's good.
and I got Trey
Yeah,
Lance as my third QB. So I'm excited about that. If he turns into something too, then I've got three solid QBs.
yeah,
But yeah, okay, perfect. I like that. I like that.
yeah. I do too.
He'll throw a lot of TDs. Chiggy's my favorite tight end breakout, especially for his ADP.
Yeah,
I
I like
mean,
him too.
I like him too. What's gonna happen? I don't know what's gonna happen with the QB there. I don't know, but yeah, he's a good late guy to kind of get. You think any of the tight ends will be worth anything this? You think any of the tight ends will be worth anything this next year? You talking about the rookies? There's a ton of awesome rookie tight ends
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
out
There's
that
all
can
sorts of
really catch the football.
yeah,
So that's exciting. I love the move that the Bengals just made in picking up Irv Smith. I still
yeah.
think they
That I
might
saw
draft
that. Yeah.
somebody, but I
Hmm.
love the Irv Smith signing. I'm a Vikings fan. I know what Irv Smith can do. The problem is he hasn't been able to stay healthy But in that offense, I love it. What
Yeah,
do you think
yeah.
about the Irv Smith signing for the
I
Bengals?
think he'll take over just fine for Hayden Hurst. Just the issue is of
Mhm.
him staying healthy. But if he stays healthy, that's the best quarterback play he's ever had. I mean, taking
Yeah.
over for the clear role that Hayden Hurst has.
Mhm.
I think he could be solid.
Definitely Baker or Trask. Who do you like?
Neither.
I mean, just stay away. Just stay
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
The thing with Baker is, as we said, like these first round picks, they get chances and chances and chances time and time
Hmm.
again. So he just keeps getting chances. I think we know what Baker is obviously at this point, and I don't know who I'd rather have. I
I mean,
mean,
has Kyle Trask even started a game yet?
I don't think so, but they
So it's
like
like,
him. They like him is the
yeah,
problem, and he's a big dude. Um, I the reason why I probably like Baker is just because he'll give you a spot start here or there. Like we don't know
yeah.
if Trask will ever see the field. Um,
At least Baker, he's got that experience, good or bad, but he's got that experience, infinitely more than Trask, So who knows? But I'd rather have neither.
What do you say? One. I mean, as far as tight ends, like I mean, Michael Mayer and Kincaid are probably going to be the top two guys.
Hmm.
And especially depending on where they go, if they can find themselves in a good situation. All right, let's finish up this real quick. Mukbang, Watson, Waddle, Cheetah, love that. And then we got Waddle and Cheetah both. Okay, Trey
Yeah.
Lance, Kirk Cousins, Purdy. So he's got some insurance in case Lance doesn't start or whatever that situation is. Debo, I just talked about, big sell for me, but Kittle, Derrick Henry there at the 8-2. I've seen Derrick Henry go as early as like the fourth round in certain drafts.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I would
he's
not.
typically in this range. But
Yeah.
again, depends who you're drafting with and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I would not spend a fourth round pick on a
no,
30-year-old Derrick Henry.
Joku, Kincaid down here. So yeah, I mean, I like it. You got the Trey Lance, Cousins, Purdy. You're okay at QB, wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You got some running backs there, so yeah, you'll compete. Not too bad there. Let's check out what happened with this. So wound up with the golf and Stafford, not bad with the Bijan, Brees Hall, Drake London, Devonta Smith, Godwin, Kirk. I probably wouldn't have went Godwin just because of the makeup of your team, how young you went. I probably would have went another route.
Mm-hmm.
Pittman, Quentin Johnston, Traylon Burks, maybe one of those guys. Even Ayuk instead, but not too bad there. And you didn't wind up a horrible situation at QB. I mean, you got Goff and Stafford, so
Yeah.
you're okay at least for a couple years. You just got to kind of pray for the best there. Joe Mixon, I can't even pick. I can't get anywhere near Joe Mixon. I'm not picking him anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a
Just
lot of legal issues
way too
lately.
much of a risk. They're probably going to bring somebody in anyway. So his time has been kind of coming to an end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not a bad team there as well. I guess Bola, let's talk about your team real quick. I guess walk us through kind of your thought process and how you kind of wound up picking who you picked there.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of go through this quickly.
Yeah,
With my 1.04, I got Hertz. That was a pretty easy pick with that rushing upside, and just how high upside he had all of last season with his crazy weapons all around him. I think that was a pretty easy pick there.
hmm
Should be a solid guy for years and years. Amon-Ra, same deal. I mean, he should be a solid guy for years and years. Even with Jameson Williams
oh
coming
yeah,
back from healthy, I think Amon-Ra will still get his work. He still should be a top 12 guy every year because of how talented he is and how much work he's getting every single play.
hell yeah.
Um, that and his and with more receivers most likely coming in the NFL draft, I think he could be on the come up. Like I said, with that rushing upside, that keeps his floor nice and high, so he's not
hmm
having those crazy low games or anything. Hawkinson at the end of the fourth. He's one of the younger tight ends. He's like 25, I believe. He was like that second tier right above Kittle, who went up at the start of the sixth. I think he's got the right balance of youth and involvement in the offense. I think he was a solid pick there to get that tight end one secured. Josh Jacobs in the beginning of the fifth. I'm still kind of iffy on this pick because he's going to be 26 sort of season. He's probably not going to replicate last year with the 50 pointers every other week, whatever.
He is on the 1 year deal too. He's on the tag, right?
Right, yeah. So I was kind of iffy, but at that point I was just like, hey, he's there, upside's there, might as well get him. Traylon Burks is another pick I was kind of iffy on, but he is still really talented. Hopefully he can get a quarterback in the next couple of years to actually help that talent come to fruition. And Derrick Henry with him kind of, he probably might get traded this offseason. He's going to decline as he gets older. So maybe they can transition more of a pass-heavy team rather than ridiculously rush-heavy they have been for a few years. Yeah. Marquise Brown, I am happy with this pick because he was really solid without DeAndre Hopkins last year. And without Hopkins for an entire year, his ceiling, is through the roof. I really like that pick with that high floor, high ceiling, that type deal. Sanders, I was kind of happy with that pick too. We already talked about this, but Sanders would probably be a 3-down back in that offense. He might not be as efficient because of that offense being much, much worse than the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get enough work to counteract that for the most part.
Well, especially as your RB2, for your RB2 as well. I mean, yeah, I absolutely think that.
I don't need him to get like 20 points per game.
Yeah.
He can get 10 or 15, and I should be just fine.
Yep.
Yeah. From a 9th round pick, I took Mac Jones. I don't think Mac Jones is anything special. Hell, he could be he could be not a starter in 3 years from now. But he has very little upside with no rushing ability, but he is a starter, and he is like one of the very last starters that were available besides rookies.
Yeah.
So I just took him as insurance for my third quarterback. Tyler Lockett, he was the very first pretty much the oldest guy on my squad at 30 years old. But he's still a solid player.
Production, yeah.
He's like I said, he's on the older side, but he should give, as my wide receiver 4, he should give a couple more years of production. Do you want me to keep going or?
Yeah, if you want to just touch on some of the guys you picked down there or why, then that's fine. Otherwise, I mean, towards the end anyway. But
Ingram, I just checked his kind of best player available.
Yeah,
career year last season. Shouldn't have as good of a season with Ridley there, but I think Ingram, he kind of showed what he's capable of. He could put in a couple more top 12 seasons before, before he's past his prime and all that. Rondell Moore, I think that was a steal there personally. Kind of same situation as Marquise without Hopkins there, as Kyler Murray's wide receiver 2. I think he has got great upside, especially at the end of the 12th. I mean, it's hard to pass up that value. And 13th, I got Alexander Madison. His value is solely dependent on Dalvin Cook's health. But there's even been rumors of Dalvin Cook being traded. I doubt he does get traded, but he's one of the best handcuffs in the entire NFL that you can ever have. So I think that was solid value there.
Yeah, definitely.
At the end of the 14th, I took Kareem Hunt. He is on the other side. I think he's going to be 20 at the start of the season, but he could end up signing with a team that gives him a lot of work.
Yeah, I like Hunt, especially that that late when you're in these later rounds, you're just looking for some kind of upside or somebody that can fill in on your team in certain situations. So yeah, and then what's his name? Hold on. Eternal said so he wound up wanting to take Sanders, I think a couple rounds earlier. So he's asking if he did wound up taking Sanders, if he didn't get
Oh,
auto picked, who would you have chosen in that particular spot? If Miles Sanders wasn't there, let's just say.
that is a good question.
You had what, Deontay, Algier, Rogers, you had all these guys kind of go after that. But yeah,
Not gonna lie,
who would you would have went with?
not gonna lie, I was kind of considering. I was kind of going back and forth on Sanders and Montgomery. And then I
Okay,
kind of
Monty. Yep,
forgot
yep,
him
yep.
as
No,
we
that's
went
right.
down.
You did mention that. You did mention that. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I probably would have taken Montgomery there. I kind of
I like
forgot
that.
about him as the
Yeah,
draft went on.
I
But
like
yeah,
that. I
probably
definitely like
David
that. Yeah,
Montgomery.
I mean, Monty's ADP hasn't like went crazy yet. I mean, I'm sure it's probably coming, but yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
to get him where he went that late was awesome. My bad.
Yeah,
We all
great
three
guy.
want to know your knowledge. Yeah, man. Of course. Thank you for still involving me. Yeah, bro. Of course, man. You
Hmm.
stay tuned. You know, you're always welcome to join in. Everybody else in here, the 4 or 5 people we got, just appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you're not already. But all right, let's go over my team
Heck
quick
yeah.
before we jump up out of here. But yeah, wound up going with Herbert and Chua right off the bat. Could have went St. Brown. I was kind of looking between those two, but I was afraid that after Chua, I think it's like a big drop off.
Yeah.
I like Dak, but he is a little bit older, and so I wanted to go with
20.
Chua there, lock up Chua, and then came back around and was able to get T Higgins, so lock up a wide receiver. And I spoke about it a little bit before, but wound up going with Gibbs and Javante just because of who was left there.
Yeah.
The Londons, the DKs, and the Olaves, the JSNs were all gone at that point. I was looking at basically Stefan Diggs or, anybody else really in that area. I wound up taking Gibbs and then Javante just for pure value purposes.
Hmm.
And realistically, if this was a real league, I probably wouldn't even keep those guys. I'd probably move off of those guys and stack up on my wide receivers, try and get some top wide receivers, see who I can
Hmm.
combine and get some top wide receivers. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just from a value standpoint, I couldn't let those guys get past me and take any of these other wide receivers. I just have these guys valued higher
Right.
than who was left at that point.
Right.
Went Quentin Johnson, so stayed young there. Bateman, who I loved Bateman coming in. He's been hurt. He's a great route runner. He's got great hands. The problem is he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. But I like him kind of in this area with all these kind of other guys. I put him kind of above some of these other guys and kind
Hmm.
of just went for some upside after that. Tony Hyatt, Wandell Robinson, just some upside there. And I don't love my wide receivers on this particular team, but like I said, I'd probably trade some of these one or two of these running backs and move over to wide receiver because
Right.
that's just how I like to build my team. So I'm taking the
Hmm.
value, I'm taking the best player available. I'll shape my team up before the season starts how I want it to be shaped up, but we've got plenty
Yeah.
of time for that. So
Especially with the three wide receiver format, wide receivers are all the more important.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Higgins a number one. Yeah, I like Higgins. He's a top 10 dynasty wide receiver for me. You're trying to compete or somewhat rebuild the first year. So it's a good question. And it depends how you want to build your teams. Whenever I build my teams, especially that first season going in, right, startup, I don't care if I don't win the first season. Like that's fine. I'm okay with going into the next season and having a top to mid first round pick, you know,
Right.
because I want to shape up my team. What I try and do in my startups, like I kind of did here, is try and draft guys that their value can increase. Because then I could trade those assets and get more assets or shape up the team how I want to be. So yes, Higgins is my number one right now, but like I mentioned before, I'll probably come off of Gibbs or Javante and make some kind of deal to get another top wide receiver.
Hmm.
Um, the Olaves, the DKs, the Londons, the Devonta Smiths. I'll probably go after some of those guys and see what I can get by adding someone else who I have. But again, like if Hyatt winds up getting first round draft capital and he goes to a decent spot, can I come off of a Javante and a Hyatt and get me one of these top wide receivers or something like that? So that's the way that I look at it. So I'm okay.
Hmm.
I'm okay with doing that. Who's in your top 10? So yeah, I'll be releasing that shortly. We just did on 420 Hustler Network last year. We did a top 15 wide receivers. Me and one of my co-hosts Hammer. We kind of broke them down into tiers. So you can always check that out. But yeah, the thing with T Higgins is that like his like production is great when
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
healthy, and on that offense, he's going to be awesome. And if he goes somewhere else, then he's still at least a wide receiver one for me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love me some T Higgins,
yeah, he's a stud.
without a doubt, without a doubt. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. First year, obviously going in. But yeah, my top 10. I mean, of course, you got JJ, you got Chase. After that, I have CD Lamb over AJ Brown. Then I have Jalen Waddle and St. Brown as like my 5A, 5B. I've got Garrett
Hmm.
Wilson. And pretty much kind of almost how this board is going, almost. I've got Olave. Drake London is my wide receiver 10. I have Metcalf right after that. But I'll be releasing a video of my actual like top 15 within the next week or two. I just haven't had a chance to. It's hard, man. It's hard to, especially in this industry to, keep on producing content relatively, all the time. It takes up time, to edit the videos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It takes so much time. And I don't know if everybody realizes that. And I go live 3 nights a week as well. So I don't put out as many videos as I probably should. I like the live stuff. You guys can interact right away. We've usually got, 5 to 7 people in here at a time, usually when I'm on.
Hmm.
Hustlers Network, we've got anywhere between like 15 to 25 people on all the time. So we're constantly just answering questions, giving out input, advice, and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I have a list of videos that I will be creating over the next couple weeks. I'm just going through personal things right now, changing my kind of career and all that kind of stuff. So just a lot of stuff going on, and then I have a daughter as well. So it's hard for me to put out as much as I really, really want to.
Yeah. Honestly, I really do respect that. I mean, I'm 21, living at home still. I can't imagine having a child at this point and trying to run BBF. I can't imagine like
It's
trying that. So I really do respect that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I'm a single dad. My daughter, I have pretty much half the week, every single week. So that's why I can't really get on until this particular time
Hmm.
in the night. I'm not a fan of him as a top 10. That's fair. I mean, listen, you can try and make that argument. I think in Dynasty, it's hard to make that argument that he's out of the top 10 because of the age, because of the quarterback that he has, the situation that he's in.
Hmm.
But I can't argue with. I like him a lot. He's not a top 15. Yeah, I mean that's rough for me to be on par with. But
Right.
again, like there's no right or wrong way in Dynasty, right? You have your reasons as to why you have him that way. But
Who are you talking about not being top 15? Who is he?
Higgins. He's talking about Higgins.
Oh, top not in the top 15. That seems a bit of a stretch to me.
Yeah, I mean
I
where
think
people
he's got to
value
be
him
in there.
at. Yeah, well, people value him at as of right now is anywhere typically between 5 to 10 Dynasty wide receiver. Specifically
Hmm.
Dynasty, right? I mean redraft obviously
Right.
is a little bit different, but yeah, I still absolutely have him up there. He's been solid. He's been pretty consistent actually too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that all
I
day. He'll
think
have he'll have
I
an
think people's main rebuttal against Higgins would be Mr. Chase, Mr. Jamar Chase. It's always going to be ahead
of
of him.
course, yeah. Well, again, we just saw AJ Brown and Devonta do it. So look at his stats. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been a mid wide receiver too, which is why we love the upside that he has obviously going forward. And he's been injured as well, so that's the thing. Even last year, what did he finish? I don't have it pulled up here. What did he finish last year? Where the hell is he?
He was a wide receiver
Finished-
18 in PPR last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, 18 PPR. And he played 14 games. Like that's the thing. Like add in some more games, and you know he's got to stay healthy. Of course, that can be a concern as well. But
Right.
yeah, if he's healthy, I mean, without a doubt, he's a high end wide receiver too with wide receiver one upside, and that's why we like him
Hmm.
so much. And because he's so young, that's why you kind of have to put him up there. As far as dynasty is concerned. But listen, I
Right.
of course I respect what you think there. Everybody's a little bit different, and that's the
Yeah.
thing about fantasy, especially dynasty, is so subjective as to far of you can make an argument for either side of any scenario, and you could,
Yeah.
support your argument with whatever stats that you want to find. So that's the one thing about fantasy and especially Dynasty. QJ is not top 10. No, QJ is not top 10 for me.
No, not quite.
He's not. He's not. But yeah, just keep following. Stay tuned. Yeah, I'll drop my video out, and you'll see, who I have in my top 10, top 15. But other than that, I think we're about to get out of here. Bola, thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Just
Thank
let
you
them
for
know
having me.
out there where they could find you.
Yeah. Right here. Big Ball of Fantasy. It's the exact same on that.
There you go. Yeah, man.
Stuff on there.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody else out there. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe if you haven't. But we out, guys. Peace.